This is just a team in town. He stays in
We're ready? Did both you all ready? Okay, we're ready. I'd like to call the Marlboro County School Board for March 4th, 2019 to order. If you will, Mr. Coaston, would you lead us in invocation?
Sure. Gracious and eternal God and Father, Lord God, we'd just like to thank you for the beauty of this day. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for assembling us today to take care of the business of this Marlboro County School District and for our children, teachers, and administration. Ask you bless each and every one of us, oh Heavenly Father, and all the children in the school districts across the nation. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for allowing us to do this job as board members, oh Heavenly Father. Go with us today as we go to take care of this business. Let it be done peacefully and orderly and in unity. These and all the blessings I do pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I see the news media is not here as of yet. If I can get approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
So moved and second. All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. Opposed is the same. You stand now for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I have a motion for us to go into executive session for the purpose of personnel matters such as hiring, terminations, resignations, and grievances.
So moved.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. We go into executive session. Let it be known by raising your right hand. Opposed is the same. We're now in executive session. The session will all be known by the sign raising your right hand. Opposed is the same. We just left out of executive session. No actions were taken. We do have had 2 resignations and 2 new hires from the district. I see that the media is now here. We're going to the public session now. If I get approval of the minutes of February 4th.
Well, Chair, I move that the minutes of our last meeting be adopted.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions? All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. Opposers are the same. Points for celebration. Marlboro County School District Spelling Bee champions. Mr. Luke Chavis. Luke, you've changed.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. McCord, it is with great pleasure that I am here tonight to recognize 3 of our students for academic excellence. Our first student is a young man from McCall Elementary Middle School. Earlier this year, he competed and won not only the 6th grade spelling competition at his school, but for the entire school. He then competed in the Marlboro County School District Spelling Bee, and after 21 rounds, he was named the winner of the Marlboro County School District Spelling Bee. He also represented his school and our district in the regional spelling bee at Francis Marion University. Luke Chavis is the son of Mr. and Mrs. Eric Chavis. Luke, please come forward to be recognized for your academic achievement. You want to get out or stay there? I'll just stay for this, yeah. Our second student is a 7th grader from School of Discovery. This young lady won her spelling bee for her grade and also for her school. She then placed second in the district spelling bee. She then represented her school in our district at the regional spelling bee at Francis Marion University, and I am proud to say that she won second place overall for the region. Nevaeh Arp is the daughter of Miss Stevie Lord. Nevaeh, please come forward to be recognized for your academic achievement. Congratulations. Our third student is a fifth grader from Bennettsville Intermediate School. This young lady won her grade level spelling bee and her school spelling bee and came in third at the district spelling bee. She then went on to represent her school in our district at the regional spelling bee at Francis Marion University, and she placed third overall for the region. Maria Stuckey is the daughter of Miss Brittany Stuckey. Unfortunately, Maria was not at school today, and we could not get in touch with her mother, but we'll make sure that she is recognized at her next school awards day program. Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Board Chair, board members, Dr. McCord, excuse me. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our Character Education Student of the Month for the month of February. Calvin Dakota Gibson is the sweetest student you'll ever meet. If you ever get a chance to meet him, you will never forget him. He is the student in your class who is always willing to aid. He's always asking, Miss Kane, can I help? Dakota is also willing to help his classmates. He loves to share his material and work well with others. I have never heard Dakota get into an argument with any of his students, state his teacher. Normally, he tries to resolve the issues. For instance, when two students were arguing about a spot in line, Dakota said, well, he can get in front of me. I don't mind. Dakota is truly kind to everyone. Just the other day, he told me that he had gotten treats for the entire class as well as his kindergarten and first grade teachers. He also mentioned he had a gift for his teacher. Dakota faced many academic struggles, but he rarely gets frustrated or gives up. He's always happy and kind. He's always willing to share what he's learned with others, and Dakota is an excellent recipient for February's Character Education Award for the month of February, Kindness. At this time, Dakota and his family, if you could come forward. Also, Ms. Kane, Dakota's teacher, if you would come forward.
Congratulations to you.
Good afternoon, Chairman McNeil, board members, and Dr. McCord. It is with great pleasure that we announce the Character Education Award to one of our own here at Marlboro County High School. It will be Jordan Ward. Let me read something about Jordan. Jordan is a 10th grader at Marlboro County High School. He is on the AB Honor Roll, a member of Marlboro County High School Beta Club, and member of Marlboro County JROTC. He serves as a chaplain for the squad. Jordan was nominated for the character of kindness because he shows towards his peers and adults kindness within the school and in the community. One teacher writes, Jordan Ward continuously displayed kindness not only to his fellow cadets, but to all people he meets. He's always there to lend an ear. He's motivated, and he also encouraged others by encourage them to do their full potential in whatever fitness and the fitness drill and ceremony. Jordan is an amazing student and put others first. The council perspective of Jordan is compassionate, he's caring, helpful, and respectful. Jordan is a very well-mannered young man, and he's deserving of this award. So at this time, we ask Jordan and his family to please come forward to accept this award.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Dr. McCord, good evening. I would like to ask Madison Woodle to come forward. The South Carolina Junior Scholars Program reflects the growing statewide effort to improve education in South Carolina and responds to the needs of students possessing unique abilities. The purpose of the program is to identify students and provide opportunities that will facilitate their intellectual growth, broaden their individual interest, and promote their scholastic achievement. Eligibility for the program In order to be eligible for the program, students must currently be enrolled in the 8th grade in a public, private, or homeschool in South Carolina. Students who scored 550 or higher on the evidence-based reading and writing, or 530 or higher on the math portion of the PSAT, are eligible to be junior scholars. Madison, who seems a little nervous, you can come stand close to me, sweetheart. Madison scored a 570 on the evidence-based reading and writing and had a combined score of 1020. We would like to present Madison with a certificate this evening and a medallion, and she will receive a certificate. This certificate comes from the district. She will receive a certificate from the State Department of Education, and her parents will receive a bumper sticker for their car. Could we get her principal to come forward and her family? I'm sorry, Madison is a student at McCall Elementary Middle School.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Ms. Mookie, can you come forward? Mr. Chairman, board members, Dr. McCord. Ms. Mookie, E3 lead teacher of Marlboro County High School, was chosen by the Palmetto State Teachers Association to participate in the March 2019 STAR. STAR stands for Strategies for Teacher Advancement Renewal Seminar. STAR is a program of the Foundation for Professional Development, a statewide program designed to recognize and reward outstanding veterans in South Carolina. To be able to apply as a STAR, the teacher must have taught in public school system in South Carolina for at least 5 years and must be an outstanding teacher. Ms. Mookie will attend the STAR seminar on the 25th to the 29th of March 2019 at the St. Christopher Conference Center on Seabrook Island near Charleston. This is an all-expense paid activity covered by the foundation. Only a total of 10 teachers per seminar are selected from around the state for the 2 seminars each year. The STAR program is the only one of its kind in South Carolina and is modeled after a highly successful program in North Carolina Center for the Advancement of Teaching, which has been operating for over 25 years. Ms. Mookie is Marlboro County High School Teacher of the Year and was awarded Excellent in Teaching Algebra 1 for the school year of 2018-2019. She is extremely excited for the opportunity and proud to represent Marlboro County High School Bulldogs and Marlboro County School District.
Again, I want to say congratulations to all recipients for this evening. I had to smile at one. Forgive me, I'm not being partial, but I have a baby picture of Madison at my house. I've watched her grow up through the years, so I'm extra proud of her. We'll now have public comment. The first is Adcock Fran. Okay.
Good evening, and thank you for your time. I'm here tonight to ask that you keep the School Discovery a standalone school at its current location. The only reason given for the closure has been because of safety issues of the school due to numerous repairs that the building needs. I asked at a previous board meeting and at the forum if the school district has had a contractor look at the School Discovery and give quotes for repair. I was told that there has been no contractors called to go look at the school for that reason. But if my memory serves me correct, last spring the school board asked Mr. Tim Brown, a local general contractor who oversaw the building of Blenheim School, to compose a list of repairs that the SOD needed. This was after the school board went back and forth about repairing the roof at the SOD, which was eventually repaired using insurance funds. The repairs that Mr. Brown gave the school board included lowering the sump pump, closing off an area under the auditorium, better lighting, renovation of bathrooms. This is not a very big list, and the information given out to voters before the bond referendum clearly states in the what will be funded section, upgrade dilapidated restroom facilities and water stations in all buildings. All buildings would include the SOD, would it not? That is what was told to the voters. If the bathroom renovations could be paid for with the bond referendum money, as was clearly stated in the fact sheet, then the other items are not that daunting at all. I remember when the SED opened and thinking, wow, a magnet school in Marlboro County. Yes, a magnet school in Marlboro County. Our school district was thinking outside of the box and doing something that no one else around here was doing. The SOD has produced some of the best and brightest in Marlboro County. The school has won countless awards for performances and, yes, for academics too. Kids have to want to go there. They have to audition to get in. They have to work hard to stay there. How can you not be proud of that? And why would you ever want to close their school? At the forum, a question was asked of Dr. McCord, are there grants out there that the school district could apply for that would help sustain the school discovery? His answer, I'm sure there are, but we have not applied for any. In light of that very surprising answer, I would like to ask all of you school board members, are you absolutely 100% sure that everything within the school district's power has been done to save our precious school? Because I have since done my own research, and I can assure all of you that there are plenty of grants out there that would help the SOD. Finally, I would like to know if the plans to tear down and rebuild a wing at BIS is still happening. If not, can the money that was used to rebuild the wing be reallocated to repair the SOD? Please delay this vote until all options for funding have been researched. There are grant funds available, there are local contractors willing to volunteer their time, and there are parents, businesses, and a community that will come together to repair this school. Please delay this vote and give us time to come up with the funds on our own if we have to. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Adcock. Mr. Charles Gant. Am I pronouncing it correctly? Grant. We'll say Graham. I apologize. I wouldn't have done well with the spelling bee.
Good evening, board chair, superintendent, and board members. It's been a while since I've been up here, but once again, I'm back since we're talking about reconfiguration again. When I first came like a couple of years ago, my thing was the kids and the safety of the kids at BIS. Over the last few months, we've been talking about the School of Discovery, but I don't want the kids at BIS to get lost in this whole thing. We still want and we're ready for our kids from Clio to come back. I thank all the teachers, principals at Clio Elementary School for what they're doing, but our kids are losing valuable class time going from Bennettsville to Clio. They're losing over an hour. Bus drivers are dealing with issues of the long bus rides. And you know, like I say, and whatever decision that you make tonight, I want it to be a decision that the board stick with. I don't want us to do like we've done in the past where a decision was made and we have a whole lot of chatter. We elect you for a reason. We don't elect the community. We're going to voice our opinion, but I want our elected officials to be able to stand on what they choose and say is best for the kids. We got a superintendent and board chair. We got people in place who research these things and really do things for the betterment of the kids. And some decisions that are made, we as a community, we as a people, sometimes we won't understand it. We won't understand it, but we got people in place and we pay people a lot of money for certain things and to make certain decisions. And like our district has been in like a flux for the last couple of years where we've been battling back and forth. But now, like if it's time for us to move forward, I would love for us to make a decision that's really going to be what's best for the kids. Stick with it. And as a community, trust in the decision. Yeah, it's going to be some things that we ain't going to agree about. That's been apparent for the last couple of years, but we've been at a stalemate. Now it's time for us, we got new officials, we got new people in place. Now it's time for us to start making some decisions, not just to move the kids, the community forward. It's time to move these kids forward. Our kids are left behind. Now we got people, everybody say we want new people, we got new people in place. But now it's time to do things to really move. We have wonderful kids here. And now it's time for us to do some things within the board and within the superintendent where we make decisions that's best for the kids. And not only that, do things to keep these wonderful teachers here. We've lost too many. Let's keep our teachers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Graham. Now I have board items, beginning with board retreat. I can address that. I think one of the things that, I won't say that's been lacking, but one thing I think that I need, and I'm speaking for me, and I hope the board understands it, I think we need to be better educated about some of the things that we need to be doing as a board. And the only way I know and think that we'll be able to do that is through retreats, through workshops, and I'm asking that we consider doing at least one retreat or board or workshop per month until we get where I think we need to be. And I'd like to start with some type of financial workshop because the budget is coming up, and I think that would best help the board understand better how we need to do what we need to do when it comes to budget. And I'm not saying that you're not well versed on it, but I know there's some more that we need to know. At least I feel like there would be, and that's just my opinion. And so I'd like to see if we can come up with a date, at least for the month of March. Or if you can come up with a date for us, I'd appreciate it very much.
I can suggest a date, but
That'll work in my world.
of course this weekend
Where's
is
the
out.
calendar for this month?
Usually in the morning.
The 25th is the second meeting for us this month.
25th is already scheduled for this month, and that's for the budget.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got it.
What day are you planning?
Can we do a retreat like once every 3 months or once a quarter or something? I think once a month is,
Well, that's up to the board. That's up to the board. I mean,
That's just my opinion, but whatever everybody else agree with.
is there a problem with every month or a quarter, which is more? And I don't want to stay on this too long. I mean,
What day of the week are you suggesting?
whatever's appropriate for y'all, whatever you can do. I'm good.
Good for me.
I'm looking for Saturday, if you're gonna have one. Saturday, 23rd, since we are going to meet on the 25th.
Is there any
Other
objection?
Saturdays suit everybody. I would prefer we do it one night, but that's just me.
Saturdays don't suit me.
Yeah, let's come in at 5 o'clock and have a meeting from 5 to 9. That's the same thing as a Saturday meeting, 2 hours is at night.
Yeah, that'll be
That'd
fine.
be okay with everybody instead of on a Saturday, because a lot of weekends,
Okay.
I'm an old retired man, I may have something planned on the weekend.
Okay, well, we're at a night from 5 to 9.
Well, I will say this if I can.
Okay, you can.
I'm an old working man, and I work, from 7:30, so, and my staff does as well. So you'd be asking staff to be on board. I don't have an issue with it, but to ask staff, I think that's a bit much, but if it's just me that's needed, then I'm fine with it.
And I
Okay,
can
what do
do
we call it?
Saturday, I can do a Saturday every now and then, but not.
Let's do this. Let's go ahead and choose a day this month, and while we're at the retreat, we'll do the rest. Let's get the first one first. Let's not do the year. Let's get this one, and then we'll go from there.
A weeknight.
A weeknight.
This month.
This month. Okay, this month, a weeknight. You can't do it.
I can go without, but I can't do it. I'm from second shift now.
Okay. All right, so we're going to go with a weeknight this month to start. And at that meeting, we'll decide when we'll do the rest. Is that fair? Thank you. Let's go with let's do Thursday night, be the 28th? That would be after the budget.
Correct.
Is that okay with everybody, the 28th?
What about the 21st?
Okay, let's do the 21st. Let's back up 1 week.
So we're having a meeting first thing in April as well.
Jeez.
21st is not good for me, but I'm only one person.
That was well, let's do the 20th. Is that a bad evening?
Yes, sir.
Can we do Tuesday, the 19th?
No, sir, I'm busy.
It's amazing. We can't work with everybody's schedule. Somebody's going to have to work with ours.
That's me what day he has available.
Yeah, that might be best.
Can't do it at night.
Is there any other dates?
only available date that I have, the 11th would be good for me, and the 28th or the 29th, those are Friday. That's a Thursday and a Friday. Yeah. And I know
Okay.
I don't want to go on a Friday.
Now, what day do you have available?
What's the 11th?
The 11th on a Monday. That's next Monday.
Next Monday. Is that a problem with anyone or everyone? It's not a problem. Okay. Next Monday at 5 o'clock, we will have our first retreat for the budget. Really, it's for financing, not so much for budget.
Is that going to be here?
That'll be here. And obviously, the public is invited.
You said 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
I have no choice. I'll be available. That's my daughter's birthday.
Next will be field lighting, Wallace Elementary, Middle, and Bennettsville Elementary. Blenheim, I'm sorry, Blenheim.
Wallace, Blenheim.
If I can, before you have the discussion, let me ask Mr. Park to come up and read.
Would you please? Thank you.
Very good. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. McCord. We're talking about the field lighting at both the Blenheim and Wallace schools. And I don't know whether you all recall, it was June 5th of 2017. The board had approved $125,000 for a restroom and concession stand for the Blenheim School and for the Wallace School. So it was $250,000 that was approved at that time. That is all the funding that we've got available to address the projects. If you're thinking in terms of wanting to reallocate those funds towards lighting versus the restrooms and concession, that would be an option for you to do. I don't know what the plan is at this point in time. I know that we've, of course, have talked with some contractors. We actually we met with a lighting contractor who is on a Sourcewell cooperative contract, and so they can actually provide that pricing. We could go through the process without having to go through an extensive procurement. However, the cost was very, very expensive.
How much that cost was?
It was about $500,000 for each school, so it was about $1 million for the lighting for. So obviously, without going through some type of specifications, with developing a full set of plans to be able to bid that, our options, in terms of getting prices for that project are limited.
Okay, Mr. Coachman, thank you. Mr. West.
Yes, that price, we're talking about steel poles?
Yes, sir.
LED lighting?
Steel poles, LED lighting, and they're about 70 foot tall. I mean, it is it's certainly
that.
very
all that's real nice.
high end.
If we was in an area where we could afford that.
I know.
Ever since I've been in Marlboro County, we had them wooden poles. The ones that, when they first built Wallace in 1950 something, still standing. So if we could replace them with wooden poles and regular lights, that would drop the price dramatically, wouldn't it?
Certainly we can do.
Let me tell you, we have been exploring other options to include wooden posts, 70-foot posts. I made mention that we are in communication and contact with several companies and individuals that may be willing to help us with this matter. Also, there are some leasing options that may be available to the district. But I think the larger, or the first issue at hand is having a conversation about the monies that were allocated for it. Originally, I thought the monies were allocated for the purpose of lighting, but later, or since, found that that money was set aside for restrooms and concession stands. But you as a board can make a decision to do differently with that, because it's still going towards the fields.
I'm gonna, this is just a suggestion. There's some other options out there that we know that are out there. If you give us a few days to check into those options and see what we can come up with, maybe we can get some better figures and be able to do both, if not all.
Yep.
Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah,
Give us an opportunity to move forward with maybe some possible options that could be available to us. And I will get back with, someone will get back to the board as soon as possible.
Well, since this is for discussion only, yes, there's no problem with tabling that and come and getting some more options coming back. So let's just put it on next month's agenda.
We're gonna move somewhere, let's say by the time we do the retreat, which is next Monday.
By the retreat, okay.
By the retreat, okay?
If there's no one else, I still want to, I got another comment on it. It's a sense of urgency for this matter for all the children that plays recreation and middle school sports. Because of the damage has been done to a lot of fields, we don't have any fields, and we have probably 13 or 14 teams we're trying to put on baseball fields at Lindsay Park. With no light, if we had lighting in Wallace and Brenham, we could have places for other kids to practice. But with that many teams, and if there is options out there, I would just like for us to move as fast as possible so we can get some color. From what I'm hearing from the companies we talk to, it only take them 2 weeks to get the lights in. So basically, if we can move.
We'll be on it tonight.
Thank you, sir.
Tonight.
Brother Chair, in order to table that motion, table that item, it requires a motion to table.
Okay.
We're not tabling. Well, you're not tabling, it's just a discussion. I say we're not tabling.
It's just a discussion. I know, but that's what he said, but it's just a discussion. It's just a discussion.
Mr. Chairman, can we, if we find out that the funding is there as another source, can we do a quick special call meeting, or can we just agree that we all?
Let's come back on March the 11th, and nothing's going to happen before the 11th. And then on the 11th, whatever we need to do on that night while we're at the retreat, we'll do it. You'll know before then. Hopefully we'll know by Wednesday, Thursday. We'll make sure it happens as fast as we can. Because I understand the urgency. Spring training has already started. That's why we got to get busy. Thank you, Mr. Parks. Mental health services, Marlboro County School District.
Yeah. That's an item I wanted to bring to the board's attention. We have, as I've said in previous board meetings, seen in our district as well as districts across the country, and I'm sure you've seen the state legislators make efforts and attempts to bring mental health counselors to all school districts. You've seen where some districts have received grants to have mental health counselors in schools to help our staff and our students in particular for issues related to trauma-induced beginnings. As we all know, students that are not focused on school because of issues and concerns not yet related to school appear to be deficit in many areas as it relates to academics. With that being said, I have talked with Tri-County Mental Health as well as 2 additional agencies that are recently or newly locating here or near Marlboro County. I would like to seek permission from the board to engage in memorandums of understanding with these agencies to come in and work with our students, our families as needed and as recommended by those in our schools from a counseling standpoint. Many of our staff are being faced daily with issues, again, that are not related to school. They have not been trained, nor should they be required to deal with certain or specific issues that may be related to families. I think having mental health counselors available to us, and by the way, it's going to be a stretch to have them in each of our schools, but it is a goal of mine to make sure that we have at least 1 mental health counselor in each school. Currently, we have 1 at Tri-County that serves the entire district, which, as I'm sure you know, creates a huge shortfall for those students and families that are in need. And so I have spoken again with several agencies, and I would like to engage in memorandums of understanding with each of these at no cost to the district. I'm sorry? No cost to the district. What we do is we provide them space
if needed. We provide them only after parental permission, access to the family, written permission that is, and then the hopes that they work with students both in and out of school.
Will we have one person that will interact with all the schools, all the kids at all the schools, or will we have?
My goal is to have at least one person that would be responsible for a particular site. In some cases, if it's a large population where the need requests, then of course we ask the service provider to provide more. But it will help us tremendously with issues related to behavior, attendance, potential dropouts. Again, those issues that extend beyond the school walls.
So what are you asking us?
Basically, I'm just asking permission to again engage in MOUs or MOAs. I'm not sure what the terminology you use here, but it's a memorandum of understanding, just stating what we will do as a district and what we expect for them to do. All agency or service providers will be required to have all employees submit to a background check. All will be required to check in and sign in with principals, because we do not have social workers, which again is another area, which is another area that I'm seeking to have included in our schools. We need social workers. We need social workers, and currently we don't fund social workers. That's an area that's going to help us get our students on task. A student that has a sundry of things on their mind not related to education is definitely not going to be in a state of mind to receive the quality level of instruction that our teachers can provide. And so this is an effort for outreach to help us help our staff and our students, as well as our community, get better in facing issues and challenges related to trauma.
Okay. Just let me just let me clarify. You're going to just, if I'm saying this wrong, then correct me. You're going to get a counselor from Tri-County Mental Health. They will be housed in this at the high school. It would not be any cost, just the space. We will provide space and maybe any of the incidentals. And that person would be available to all other children within the county. Would this person, if they had a problem at Blenheim and she needed to, I'm just trying, because
the goal is to have one at each site. Currently, we have one that floats this district, as well as what's the neighboring district? Chesterfield.
Well, that's what they
and another Dillon.
I was just thinking at the convention, the Chesterfield County, they mentioned that they were talking about their mental health counselor and mental health person, and
they have a similar agreement with an agency.
Okay, so that's what they have. Okay.
Right, and again, this is for small rural counties. It's a task, it's a tall order to have these service agencies come to the districts. However, I've seen personally, from my past experiences of doing this type of work in my former district, the benefits that it yields for our schools, our students, and our families.
I certainly would think that's a great idea, because just the other day, I think we had that incident. It didn't bother me, and maybe not have bothered maybe 75% of the students, but there's a percentage of students that would probably go into some type of panic attack, and you don't know, you just can't speculate, but I think that that would be something, I would like to see that happen.
So let me ask you another question. Okay, so your mental health person, right, would deal with the children that's having behavior issues also in the classrooms. So that will kind of give the teachers a little out.
Teachers and schools, and as well as counselors. And as I said, one of the things that I'll bring up when we get deeper into the budget season is the need for social workers to help act as a liaison between that type of service agency and the school. Again, we are deficit in areas of support services, wraparound services here in Marlboro County, and the goal now is to complete the circle so that we can do what's in the best interest of students.
So now, does our school counselors, do they function in that capacity?
School counselors do a great and tremendous job in the areas that they've been assigned as it relates to handling things related to academics, scheduling,
being a caregiver for students if and when needed. But this again is an added resource to what a school counselor does. A school counselor will not be required to go out into the homes and seek to find out what the root cause is for a family situation. Again, many times, and I don't have to say this, I'm sure the educators in the room will agree with me, a student that comes with a bad frame of mind, it has absolutely nothing to do with school. It has everything to do with the type of environment that they're coming from on a daily basis. We do a yeoman's job, teachers do a yeoman's job in trying to instill in kids proper behavior, good character traits, high value systems. And sometimes, to our best efforts, these students return to an environment that we have absolutely no control over. We can't devalue a system that students are growing up, but we can offer and educate families on proper ways to handle situations as it relates to discipline, as it relates to school, as it relates to conversations. And so, again, the effort is to build on what we have.
So do we need a motion for that?
No. I'm asking permission because, again, as I said earlier, when I was hired, I won't do anything without your knowledge. I can sign a contract, but I'm not going to sign a contract without bringing it to you first and letting me hear from you what your thoughts are on it.
You're basically saying you're going to be pursuing a memorandum of understanding with a mental health service to provide service for the Marlboro County School District.
Right. I do know of 2 agencies that are near and here opening.
Okay. We don't need a motion for it, then I guess you got permission.
I'd only ask that I see a copy of that MOU before it goes out to whoever you're going to be, whoever the contractors may be, just to make sure. Okay. Anything else for Dr. McCord?
I think we need a vote on that to give forward permission to move forward with that. That would be the proper way to do it. Cover
whatever.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I move we grant the superintendent permission to seek a memorandum of understanding for mental health services for the Marlboro County School District.
Second.
It's moved and second. You ready for question? Okay, all in favor of the superintendent going forward to get a memorandum of understanding with a mental health service to provide services for the Marlboro County School District. All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. Opposed is the same. It's unanimous. Thank you. Mr. John Frias, with Rave Mobility. Mr. Frias is here to talk with us about a software that is being used in parts of the state to help with emergency situations. And as a matter of fact, he was at the school administrators today in Columbia speaking on behalf of his company. Mr. Frias. Yes, well, thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman, members of the board, and Dr. McCord for having me here today. So the purpose of today's meeting here for me is to really give you guys a quick high-level overview as to how we're helping to address school districts, address the illicit law that was passed into bill out of New Jersey. And so since Parkland, one of the things that school districts across the country are focusing on is how can we get help to those that need it fast. But most importantly, how can we alert people when there's an incident at school. So Rave Mobile Safety as a company, we are a safety partner here for the state of South Carolina. You're seeing a lot of logos here, and they may not mean much necessarily when you look at it from that perspective, but what those logos really show is that 41% of all of the college education students here in the state of South Carolina are actually protected by the services that Rave Mobile Safety as a company provides. In addition to that, we work with 28% of all of the counties here in the state to provide them services for public safety, including the Capitol Government Complex here in the state of South Carolina. So anytime there's an emergency, we are able to let senators and members of the Capitol Complex know that there's an emergency that may impact their facility. So taking that concept, when we look at the K-12 environment, what we see is incidents today are reported in a sequential format. And what I mean by that is, if you think about the nature of how incidents happen today, only 1 out of 10 incidents happen outside or inside of a classroom. 9 out of 10 incidents happen outside of the classroom. And so what that means is, number one, you have somebody that becomes the witness. So somebody sees what's happening. That individual, whether it's a teacher or any other staff member at a particular school, has to make a decision. Do they call 911? Do they call the front office and let the front office then contact the district, and the district then makes a decision, or do they run to the nearest classroom to seek help from another colleague? So in today's day and age, that process no longer works because of the fact that, as we saw in Parkland, in just 1 minute and 23 seconds, 23 people died. And so what we're looking to do is take that approach today, and through an application that is installed on everyone's phone, just like you download your Google Maps or just like you download a Panera Bread app, you can essentially request help, and at the same time immediately let your colleagues know the who, the what, the when, and the where. And what I mean by that is that when an incident occurs, if somebody calls 911 using our services, we're going to automatically put that person on the line with 911 so that they can explain to 911 what is happening, and therefore allow 911 to send the appropriate response. But second, and most importantly, we're going to be able to let everybody know at that particular location of what is happening. So every teacher would be able to know that John Frias just called 911 to report that there's somebody with a weapon on campus. Or John Frias just called 911 because there's a student outside on one of the playgrounds that just collapsed and needs CPR. So it's taking that initial sequential format that I mentioned earlier, which is the challenge today, and streamlining it so that the minute somebody calls for help, everybody else that needs to be made aware that there's an emergency happening at that particular location is, one, immediately aware, but two, and most importantly, they can take immediate action. And so seconds counts here. So in Newberry County, as an example, here in the state, they've had several incidents where being able to immediately notify everybody else that there's an emergency has proved to be life-saving. And so that's really the concept of this application. And in looking at everybody here, I think it's safe to say that if there's one thing that today most people do not leave their homes without, they do not leave their office without, is this. It's their personal cell phone. And so being able to let you know that something is happening right on your phone, what this is essentially doing is giving every single staff the ability to call a lockdown, to let their colleagues know that there's something that's happening and they need to take action. Because again, it's all about being able to know what's happening as soon as possible. And that's what this technology is really capable of. So that's what I wanted to highlight for you folks today. Any questions? John, could you, and because I know the system,
Yes.
Could you explain to us briefly what the geosystem is and how it works? Because I think that's more, we just had an incident last week, and I think that would bring it home a little bit better about how the geosystem works.
Okay, absolutely. So from a setup perspective, every location has an address. So what we allow the district to do is to create a geofence of every facility. Now, a facility has different buildings, or a facility may have a parking lot, a baseball field, a football field. And so being able to generate a geofence that says anytime an incident occurs within this particular location that I've geofenced on the map and given a specific name, what that essentially allows the school district to do is if somebody calls 911 from outside of the parking lot right now, you will be able to know that an incident is taking place outside in the parking lot as opposed to an incident taking place right here in the library. And so that is very time-saving because in some locations you have facilities that have large campuses. So the field may be 5 minutes away from the actual facility, the educational facility. So being able to know exactly where the emergency is happening is what proves to be life-saving. And so what that means is that regardless of where you are within a facility, you can activate the emergency and it would still alert individuals whether they are physically there or not. So you could be at another location and you're going to know within seconds via an Amber type push notification that there's an emergency happening at the football field at ABC Elementary School. If someone happens to be away from the campus, let's just say they're at home, they can still call 911, but because that particular individual is nowhere near the school grounds, no notifications are going to go out so that we don't create what's called a false activation, if you will. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it does for me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Mr. Coachman.
I just had one question. I was looking at it where it says 5 minutes, 69% of action shooter incidents last about 5 minutes.
Typically under 5 minutes.
And I'm looking at your final 12 minutes, 31% of the time the officers arrive at the end of when it's over.
Yes.
Is this system going to speed that and reduce that 31%?
So on the officer side, I cannot necessarily tell you it will 100% of the time, and here's why. If you look at the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas after action report, if an officer is near the facility, then absolutely, because that officer is going to shave at the very least 3 minutes just off of the initial call. If you look back at how long it took in Parkland before somebody actually got a hold of a 911 operator and 911 was able to send help, think about the impact if folks on site would have taken action the minute the initial call went to 911. So what we're looking at here is two things. Number one, if you have an officer that's nearby, rather than waiting for the radio call, they're getting an upbeat on the clock because as that person calls 911, that officer is going to immediately know the location and the incident, which means by the time that radio call comes in, they're already en route. So they've already shaved time off of the clock. But second and most importantly is it's really the individuals on site that are going to make the difference. In very few instances will the officers be the one that take down the threat or the active shooter in this particular case. You need somebody on site to be able to take immediate action to at the very least protect the kids, because again, if you look at all of the after action reports, very rarely has a shooter gone into a classroom that's already locked. And the logic behind that is because they're looking for the easy target. And that's usually the kids or the staff out in the hall. So if you can get those people away from harm, that's what's going to help mitigate risk. And the only way you can do that is by immediately making them aware the minute somebody calls for help or the minute somebody sees something. And again, if we go back to the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas scenario, had that security individual been able to call 911 and at the same time immediately code a code red, I think an argument can be made that the outcome would have been different, at least for the kids on the third floor.
I have a question.
what is the price tag on a software like this, and how often would you have to update the software?
So the cost for this is $1,800 per school. That covers all of your faculty and staff, all of your first responders, and anybody else that you need to be affiliated with the school that will help in a response. As far as how often the app is updated, it's just like any other application. We go through rigorous enhancements, but it's not something that you'll see an update on a monthly basis. So you could expect an update maybe every 4 or 5 months. Typically an update is made if our clients say to us, here's an additional enhancement we need to make. As an example, today we release an enhancement that would allow an administrator at a school to be able to message multiple schools at once. Now, why is that important? Think about receiving a phone call. There's an active threat in the community, and you have several schools that are close to one another. Being able to immediately just take your phone out, craft a message, and select the school, checkbox the schools, and then hit send, and automatically know that everybody's immediately made aware, that's what that's about. So it's those type of enhancements that we make, but we don't make them, again, on a monthly basis because you don't want to be constantly asking people to make updates to their applications.
Mr. Driggers.
He's already answered my question.
There you go.
So would it be safe to say that it doesn't stop it? But it may, because it doesn't stop it, okay, it may slow down the amount of casualties.
That's right.
By alerting everyone, but
That's right. There's
first minute and a half.
That's right. That's right. What we're helping you with, there is not a single technology out there. And anybody, and then from the vendor perspective, anybody that tells you otherwise, you may want to second guess that. There's not a single technology out there that is going to be available to a district that is going to 100% prevent active shooters. You can have metal detectors. You can have whatever you want. What it's really coming down to is people will get to the school if they want to. The question is, once they get in, how do you then minimize the risk? And the only way to help do that is by helping teachers take action the minute somebody starts doing something that they shouldn't be doing in a school.
Does it provide...
Mr. Branch.
Now, you said $1,800 per school?
That's right.
Is that a one-time fee, or is that
That's an annual fee. This is a software, so it's a living and breathing service.
So no matter how many geo fences you have per school, it's still $1,800?
That's right.
Does it have a unique sound alert to it, different from other incoming calls, so to speak, on these phones?
That's right. So the application itself has a very unique sound, and again, it comes across in a similar Amber type notification.
Are you aware of any funding that may be out there that could assist certain districts?
So there are ways to work with this. One is with your 911 community. So I can share an example in Newberry County. This was funded through a partnership between the Sheriff's Office, the Newberry Hospital, and the school district. So those are some of the ways to fund this.
Any other questions? Ms. Frias, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Superintendent's report.
Eyes back. Dr. Harris, status of third grade students. This is in accordance to the Read to Succeed Act. What I've asked Dr. Harris to do is check with as we do regularly, check with our elementary principals, elementary schools, to see, first of all, how many third grade students we currently have in the district, how many of those students will be at the meets level to be successfully promoted to the 4th grade. So Dr. Harris is going to talk a moment about this.
Please, Chairman McNeil, Dr. McCord, members of the board. I present you some information in regards to an update on the status of our third graders in terms of the Read to Succeed legislation. As you know, Act 284, the Read to Succeed legislation, was created in 2015 to address the literacy performance in South Carolina and put in place a comprehensive system of support to ensure South Carolina students graduate on time with literacy skills that they need to be successful in college, career, and citizenship. Act 284 provides for a strong assessment and intervention system for students in the kindergarten through 12th grade, with the goal of all students becoming proficient readers by the end of 3rd grade. As you see, you received a chart with the information in regards to Bennettsville Intermediate, Blenheim Elementary, Clyde Elementary, McCall Elementary, and Wallace Elementary in terms of the total amount of 3rd graders in those schools, the number of students who fell below the 177 cut score for their fall map, and the percentage of those students that are proficient at this time. As you will note at the bottom, of the 134 students who, during the fall assessment, scored below the 177 cut score, we can predict that possibly only about 70 to 80 students will be eligible at the end for the camp. Based on this data. Now, some of these students have already progressed past the score that they would need because students have been involved in taking the midwinter maps that they just took. And then we'll have the actual assessment that they will take along with the SE Ready, SE Pass when they take that in May. And when they take that assessment, the reading portion of it will come back and yield us which students will attend. There are some general interventions that we do for all of our students in 3rd grade in order to prepare our students to pass this assessment, because we don't want too many assessments doing this. The general interventions are all of the balanced literacy components, the mini lessons. We do interactive read alouds, we do shared reading, independent reading, guided reading, one-to-one assistance. We do small group with Fonnes and Pinnell LLI books. We also do we visit classrooms to model skills and components by our literacy coaches. We visit classrooms for team teaching in terms of helping these students. We also we use all teachers, including our exploratory, to assist in small groups of students for instruction. We use some of the following resources: ReadWorks, Corrective Reading, and Jennifer Cervello Reading Strategies. I will share with you one school to share with you how we deal with some of our most challenged readers. And this one school is kind of a synopsis of what's going on in all of these schools. At BIS, they implement the WIN time. It's what I need time, first thing every morning. They have divided their students into 10 groups with the assistance of their 3rd grade teachers, related arts teachers, exceptional services teachers, media specialists, and the literacy coach. Each group has no more than 12 students. The groups are based on the fall map scores until they have the spring map. For our lowest readers, and those would be all the students that score below 177, we use a corrective reading. Our exceptional services teacher is using level A for the lowest level readers, and the other 4 teachers are using the level B1. This is a supplement to the small group instruction that occurs for all students. And these are some of the intensive and intentional interventions that we use to help these students as we move throughout the year, because we want all of our students to be prepared for that assessment in the spring and give them the greatest chance of passing. Of course, as you know, students that do not pass that test are invited to our reading camp, and they go through the reading camp, and then at the conclusion of the reading camp, we use information from their portfolio, to make decisions on whether those students would be retained or passed. Even with that reading camp, by students attending that camp, they get the opportunity to take the map again in the summer if they have not exceeded the score on the state assessment to help them.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Harris. If you would just remind the board where we were last year, heading into the beginning of the school year. In other words, how many students fell below what was required to be promoted?
I think last year we ended up, I want to say, with only about 4 to 5 students. It may have been a high number of 7 that ended up not in a position to be promoted. When we went into the summer, we had a significant camp, and most of the students throughout the summer were able to satisfy their reading assessment through the portfolio. So by no means do we expect to have such large numbers of students that would be retained. We are committed to doing everything we can to make sure the students are successful. In the reading camp, we have some of the best teachers and best best instructors, excuse me, that are comprised within the district to work with these students. And at the end of the summer, or toward the middle of the summer, we have our authors tea, which a number of you attended, and I think that was one of the first events Dr. McCord attended when he came, and we had those students to come in and present, and they were able to read to different people. So with the portfolio and our work, we continue to work to make sure that we're allowing and helping our students to meet the standards set by the state of South Carolina.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Harris.
I'm a little bit confused.
Okay.
Blenheim Elementary, help me out, Dr. Harris. Blenheim Elementary fall map score. I'm looking at can I use these numbers? Open, I mean, I don't know if they're published yet.
They're not published. These are, but yes, please, go ahead.
Well, I'm looking at, for instance, a percentage falling below the 177. Okay? I'm looking at the percent proficient at this time, and they're the same. I mean, are they the same every time?
No, the row that says percent proficient, that's the percent that's not proficient at that time. It's not. These are numbers that are reflecting all those students who fall below. So that row that says percent proficient is meant to be the percent that's not proficient. Yeah.
Okay. Based on the other number that they had, on the middle number.
Okay.
Yeah, on the middle number.
So you'll notice they're all pretty much.
The first numbers to students that are below.
Okay.
But
I think those are the ones that.
I see your question.
I see your question, Mr. Norton, but that column is.
I think you're correct.
Yeah, the column is meant to be.
It should be in reverse.
Yeah, the percent is not
if it's 65 on one side, it should be 35 on the other side. I agree with you.
Yeah, well, the column is actually mislabeled. It's meant to say that the percent is not proficient at this time.
Okay.
Because until we actually get the actual test scores, we don't want to say any student is at this time going to be proficient, because all it's going to be based off of the actual test in May, not off of the map.
It's a point noted, and I'll make the correction, and I take responsibility for it. It's worded incorrectly. It's worded, but it should be.
It's worded, yeah.
It should be on
the percent not proficient.
Okay. Well, if it's worded incorrectly, the percentages are still incorrect too.
Well, if it says falling below, so for an example, if you take Blenheim, 65%, the opposite should be 35% to create 100%.
Yes.
Right.
The third column is meant to read the percent of students not proficient at this time.
I'll make the correction and send it out.
Yeah, all of those percentages match those in the second column, as you see.
Okay.
Yeah, all of the percentages in the third column match those in the second column, because it's meant to be labeled the percentage that is not proficient at this time. So that's the update of those students that are not at the level yet.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Harris. Since you turned this quick,
Ms. Margaret Quick. I saw her, there she is. Ms. Margaret Quick, as she approaches, she has some exciting information for the community, for the school district, and hopes and in our efforts to get more involved with 21st century grant opportunities.
Yes. Good evening, Chairman McNeil, members of the board, and Dr. McCord. It brings me great pleasure to announce a funding opportunity for our community. The South Carolina State Department has released the 2019-2020 21st Century Community Learning Grant. Approximately $7 million in funding will be awarded on a competitive basis. For this funding round, the South Carolina State Department will fund community-based organizations and other public and private entities. Applicants must propose or establish activities in the community such as learning centers, academic and enrichment opportunities for tutorial services, offer students a broad array of services, and provide activities that not only the student but the families. In efforts to assist our community partners, the Marlboro County School District will host a grants interest meeting on March 11, 2019 at 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Marion White Elderman Public Library. The Marlboro County School District will also provide sessions for applicants with key grant writing tools and assist in submitting the grant. Should anyone have any additional questions about applying for the 2019-2020 21st Century Community Learning Grant, you can feel free to contact me. The board secretary has put a packet in your packet with the information of the grant writing session as well as the additional sessions that we will have. At 10 a.m.
Let me speak on this if I can for a moment. We have sent this information out and we'll continue to send it out because there is some talk around town that the school district is not seeking to be involved with 21st century grant opportunities. That actually is not correct. 21st century grant opportunities are community grants. They're grants that not-for-profit organizations can partner with school districts so that we can do two things. One, serve the community as well as continue an academic program outside of school, i.e. after school hours. For the past few years, I believe Marlboro County School District has taken on that role as the fiscal agent for these grants, as the sole fiscal agent for these grants. We now want to and need to take these grant opportunities out into the community because at the end of the grant, we have a decision to make, and that is whether or not we're going to continue to fund the grant in its fullest amount, which we currently don't have in our budgets, or we can do in-kind services with community partners that will allow us to make these grants stretch further. So it's a win-win for the community, and we desperately want as many as we can to have present at this meeting on the 11th, and I believe there may be an additional meeting held. Yes. We will do the footwork and assist those agencies, community partners that are willing and seeking to have grant-funded opportunities to assist us in our efforts for aftercare programs here in our school district, and we're excited about partnering with these agencies. So again, to Ms. Howe over at the local newspaper and any other media that may be involved, if you could help us get this information out to the public, we greatly appreciate it.
I got a question. So, in the past, the school district has been writing the grants.
Correct.
Yeah, correct. So now you're saying that the public needs to write the grants.
21st century grants are designed to have community, school, or multi-agency partnerships. School districts generally offer in-kind services as it relates to building, as it relates to some areas or levels of personnel related to hirings, but not as the sole fiscal agent. I don't think it's something that I've seen in any of my previous districts.
So if no one else come forth or interested in helping to write,
then we're back in.
Okay.
So if no one
not going nowhere.
you're looking for a nonprofit organization that you will help with grant writing, and the award may be presented to that nonprofit.
Correct.
Okay. So who makes, if there are several entities that decide that they want to come and submit an application, who makes the decision on who gets the grant?
The State Department of Education.
So the State Department will vet all these people.
Correct.
Because this is scary here.
It has been known. I know in Hartsville County there are two different entities that are holders of the grant. You have the Boys and Girls Club in Hartsville, as well as I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he established his own youth mentoring partnership with the district. So there are entities that hold the grant themselves other than the public school districts.
And if I can just carry on, you usually see the grants awarded to Boys and Girls Club, YMCA's, local churches that have child care centers, after school programs are usually located in these agencies. So it's a way for everyone to have some skin in the game, and it also helps the agency for their involvement. So if you take for is it Old Marlboro School, for an example, they have some needs and issues that the grant will be able to help and assist them with, as well as needs from the school district. We'd be able to help and assist them. But again, it all goes towards benefiting the community and their kids.
Right now, the grant that we have currently for the last few years is for, at the end of the school day, students, that they remain at school, they're provided a snack and they're given help with and then they're given transportation home.
Correct. And that still can be possible too through any outside agency. It's just according to how they write the grant. And in our many grant writing sessions that I will have with the individuals, I will actually give them a copy of the grant that the district wrote so they can model their own program after that grant.
How long have we had this grant? 21st Century 21 here in Marlboro County?
We're in our 4th year for Bennettsville Primary, Bennettsville Intermediate, Wallace, and Clio. And in our 3rd year for McCall, Marlboro County High School, and Blenheim.
And the school district handles all that grant money now?
Correct.
So if we go with the community, basically take a nonprofit organization like a church or a community organization to take over the grant, and they would actually be funding the money out, paying our teachers.
Correct.
But using our facilities in the schools to run the program like it exists now?
Yes.
But they would have to have an educational program in place.
Correct.
I don't know many organizations or churches in our community that have the education program.
Well, they could hire our teachers to do the educational part. And it's just based on, it has to have a math component and a reading component. So all of our teachers here, we have great reading coaches, we have great math teachers that could do that component for them. And then the community could bring in other entities to do the activities, the enrichment activities. So it's all of how they write it. It's not necessarily that they won't have it, because they would still be able to use any staff member that they hire that applies for that position and that they hire. It's just based on how they write the grant.
Well, this grant ends this year, right?
For the 4 sites that's in year 4, after this summer, those 4 sites will end. Yes, we'll run through this summer, then those 4 sites will end, and then McCall, Blenheim, and Marlboro County High School have 1 more academic year, and then the summer.
So let me give you a worst case scenario for the grants that are ending. If we do apply as a district and we are not funded, then we don't have the monies or the funds available to continue in the manner that we have for the past few years. Right. If an agency does that and they have a better shot at getting funded, then we can continue services. Again, there's no cost to the district, only if we make a decision to keep programs funded if we don't receive the funding.
Okay. Yeah, I understand that part, but what if the agency apply for the grant and one of the agencies and they don't get funded and we don't apply for it? So the program basically be dead for that year for us, right?
Essentially.
Yeah.
Right.
Are we going, is Marlboro County schools, are they going to apply for the grant?
Well, speaking with Dr. McCord, he told me to go ahead and write something and have it on standby, just in case that we get to the point where it's submission time and we don't have agencies or community organizations willing to go ahead and submit. So I will have something in place. It just may not be on a large scale as we have now.
We don't want to X out by way of competition,
right?
Some agency here. However, we don't want to be left without anything. So
I understand.
we do have a backup.
We have a backup plan.
I'm just, I'm not knowing this community. I'm just wondering, knowing this community, I'm just wondering, other than the school district, who could do it properly and get funding?
Well, we already have one, which is the Children's Defense Fund. They are the fiscal agents for Blenheim and the high school. So we have met with them, earlier, and they are considering rewriting the grant. If Marlboro Parks and Recreation, they would be able to sustain it. The Department of Social Services would be able to sustain it. There are several churches that I know of that have already contacted me, and I'm there to help. I will provide the budget outline, the grant, everything. So it's just a matter of submitting it and hiring the people that's needed if approved.
It's a 501c3 requirement.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So why would social services? They're not in the education field.
It's not necessarily the education field, it's whomever that could write the grant to provide the services. So for instance, social services could write the grant, hire our teachers to do the educational part, but maybe their focus is more maybe on mental health or social services. So they could have that enrichment component in there that will help pay for those services for families and students.
Right. And it can be social services, mental health agencies, et cetera. Why they would be going after a grant like this is because it helps them with those RAP services that happen outside of school.
I just know that the part that was so helpful to this district was helping, giving those children that they're already at school, they stayed at school, they got the help they needed, and I'm just thinking another person comes in and just muddies up the water, but I appreciate the information. It's just not something I like to see happen because I just don't see that it would be the ones that need the help. I just don't see that they would get it.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Quick.
I have one more update for 21st Century. We have recently partnered with the Live Connect. Is Dr. Karina Lyles here? We have recently partnered with the Live Connect, which is the CEO is Dr. Karina Lyles. She's the daughter of Ms. Jennifer Lyles, reading coach at Blenheim Elementary. Dr. Lyles is a doctor of computer science. If any of you all are familiar or seen her, she has a STEMS truck that has been all around the district as well as throughout Marlboro County, the Marlboro County community. This partnership that we have with Dr. Lyles will provide students with a hands-on laboratory experiment demonstrations that are fun and educational, as well as offer a coding class. We had a professional development this past Saturday where she taught 10 teachers throughout our district to teach students to code. So they will have hands-on lessons with codings and drawing conclusions from their data. They will also be engaged in their own scientific investigation processes, as well as they're broadening their knowledge on science-related careers. And I wish that we had Dr. Lyles here to show you. She had one of her robots that the students would work on and program and code. But next board meeting, we will have that for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
request for? The request for the school district for the waiver regarding inclement weather.
Yes, sir. Going back to the fall when we had inclement weather that took us out of school for approximately 10 days, we sought out the best way for us as a school district to minimize those days that we would be required to ask for forgiveness from the State Department. As noted here, right now, you have the authority as a school board. We missed 10 days. I'm sorry, let me go through this so that I can make sure the public knows. We missed a total of 10 days for the traditional calendar and a total of 7 days for the non-traditional, 6 days for the McCall non-traditional calendar. We are recommending that I am recommending to you as a school board, because you have a right to waive 3 days, and because we have 3 days for makeup days in our regular calendar, and because we made up 4 days first semester already, that you ask the state for 1 day to forgive, for a total of 4 days, 3 from you for forgiveness and 1 from the state.
1 from us and 1 from the state?
Correct. This will fulfill all of the days missed. If you recall, and those of you that are new, we wanted to postpone this request because we were inclined to believe that we would have some snow and or sleet days in January and or February. It's now March. I can't say that we're out of the dark, but you know, I feel pretty good that we won't get snow. I'll knock on wood. But right now, as it currently stands, we only need permission from the state for 1 day of forgiveness, and so that will be for you to grant me the authority to make that request to the State Department on your behalf.
Okay, if I can get it in the form of a motion?
Make a motion.
1 day.
Second.
Or the 3 days.
Well, you as a board have the right
motion
by
to
law.
forgive the 3 days and to ask the State Department to forgive the 1 day.
Correct.
Second.
3 days.
Now, of course, it'll snow tomorrow.
Don't worry about that when that comes. Okay, I can get that in the form of a motion?
Got a motion and a second.
Okay. I didn't either.
We might never do that again because I didn't hear it.
I make a motion that the school board forgive 3 days, and we ask the State Department to excuse the other day, 1 day, for a total of 4.
All right. It's been moved and second that we ask the state board for forgiveness of 3 days and that we waive 1 day, which is a total of 4 days. Backwards. 3 days we'll forgive 3 and ask the state for 1 day. Question? Ready to vote? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by raising your right hand. Opposes? Dr. McCord, you can do it.
No, I don't oppose.
Okay, if I'm reading this correctly, that handles the extended year calendar also, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. It's non-traditional calendar, yes, sir.
All right, go on, say it.
Highly qualified teachers.
Right now, we just need Mr. McNeil, I'm sorry.
District auction. I don't know.
Probably not.
Good evening, board chair, board members, and Dr. McCord. Happy to report from the auction update. We had a great auction this past month. We actually got rid of most of the items. We got a few desks and things like that left, but we did a good job of cleaning all that stuff out. Got rid of all the mobile learning labs. Just waiting on everybody to pick them up. We gave them 30 to 45 days to get all the mobile units moved because they got to do it on the weekends. We won't have them there doing school or while the kids are on campus. So it'll be when we either on vacation or on the weekends. That's the only times they can go on campuses to move those units. So that's why we gave them a little extra time. We brought in profit of $14,926.60 on the auction. So I think that was pretty good. Any questions?
I need to ask you something afterwards about how they're supposed to get rid of gates. The mobile units.
Okay. And we're looking at, we're setting up an auction now for your information for April. We didn't do the barred units in this past auction because of the weather. So we're going to go back and do those leftover barred units from BIS, the old units over there at BIS. We're going to do those at the April auction.
The who units?
Those AC units that was taken out. We're going to do those in April. All right?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McNeil.
Construction project presentation. David Lordholt.
David Lordholt is going to be working with us, and will present now how we will move forward with the work that we are anxiously ready to begin. I can tell you from my conversations with students in several of our schools, many of them have asked and made requests that we do something to address what they consider to be urgent matters as it relates to restroom needs. I had a student write me a lovely letter telling me that he appreciated the new water fountains in the school, but we need to do something about the restrooms. So I thought that was pretty cute, but it also just reinforced my mindset that we need to move with expediency and making sure that we can provide quality facilities for our students and staff. And so happy to bring Mr. Lordholt on board to present tonight where we are and how we are going to move about.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Board members, Dr. McCord. I am David Lordholt. I'm happy to be here tonight. Looking forward to working with you on these projects that you got upcoming. We'll give you just a little background about from now through the summer where we're headed, what we're trying to do. We are kind of a little bit busy. We need to get on it really quick. So that being said, from now until May 31st, we need to look at, we need to get a design construction team. We need an architect and construction contractor. Hopefully could bring that back April 1 for approval. That would mean it would be out for a 21-day bid process. Some of the main things that we need to be hopping on right now are the restroom renovations, the planning, the approval with the State Department on what we can do. Do we have enough facilities for all the students in the school currently? We have 4 facilities that have restroom renovations. BIS, BPS, McCall's, and Marlboro High School. We have playground equipment and design that we need to be working on between now and the time the students get out. We have 4 schools there, BIS, BPS, Clio, and McCall's. So those would be playground equipment bringing in. Also, BIS has a basketball court. This is the picture of the basketball court. It's up at McCall's. It's a nice asphalt surface, 6 goals. We could probably put 4 on it at the intermediate school, because if you put 1 on the end, then they're shooting at the driveway, and I don't think you want them shooting the ball out and going in the driveway. So you could put 4 and maybe a couple more behind it. But this is what's up at McCall's currently. It's a very nice structure. The other area are the storefronts. The district's currently working on installing cameras through a contractor. They will be installing locks on the doors, card swipe locks. But 2 of the schools, the primary school and Clio, they need a storefront put on before they can have their card swipe locks on. I believe also it might be McCall's needs that. And then we have some building demolition at the intermediate school that needs to happen. We'll need some approval from the state on that because we'll be taking down 2 classroom wings that currently have a fire alarm in them. So we'll need approval from the state fire marshal to terminate those alarms and make sure we get them done properly. And also there'll be a door required to go in when the classroom wings come down. And there's a 2,400 square foot building, so there's 3 buildings that need to be demoed. Hopefully when the summer gets here, we're looking at 2 time frames when students are out of school. McCall's, or the extended school program, is out from June 1 till about July 5th. So that's a short time frame to do things up there. But if we start the planning now, hopefully we can get some things done up there. The regular school, the students are out June 10th and they come back around the 19th. And that affects these 4 schools: the intermediate, the primary, the high school, and Clio. This is a picture of some of the restrooms that are in the buildings. The things we hope to start accomplishing, or where we're at least headed toward for the summer, would be at BIS, would be the demo of the 3 buildings, start working on the restrooms, the basketball courts, and the playground equipment. At the primary school would be the storefront, the playground, and the restrooms. At Clio would be playground and the storefront. At McCall's would be playground, storefront, and restrooms. And then at the high school would be restrooms. This is a picture of what a renovated restroom could look like. It's just kind of a sample of what you're trying to aim for. This is another picture of what a renovated restroom could look like. Along with working on the projects, I'll also be working in conjunction with the finance staff to help them maintain the budgets, and make sure that the invoices are coded properly. And so we'll be helping with them to assist, to be an extension of their staff, to make sure when the invoices come in, they're paid properly. We track your money, you know where you are. We can give you monthly reports so you'll know where you're standing with the 10 million referendum that was approved. Those are the main things. I also look forward to looking at any other facilities. I know there's a hospital here that there's some interest in, so I know we're going to look at that and see where we're headed and what's the interest is for the district. But I'm glad to be here. I want to make this a great project that the board and the whole community can be proud of. And I'll entertain any questions you have right now.
Question. Okay, I didn't see the auditorium at BIS.
The auditorium and the cafeteria kitchen addition will happen after the summer. We're hoping to start construction on that right now in January so that it would be available in August of 20, excuse me.
It's consistent with the timeline that we initially put out. I also want to mention that with the summer projects that we're hoping to begin, not hoping that we're going to begin, we're going to be looking for skilled local laborers. So if you know individuals that have skill sets as it relates to carpentry, plumbing, tile work, grouting, definitely be on the lookout for information that will be forthcoming in the local news media as well as on our website. As we seek out vendors, that is going to be a preference for the district as much as possible to seek out internships as well as those individuals here locally that could benefit from some of these funds that are going to be used to bring our schools back up to date.
Dr. McCord, I assume there's a backup plan in the event that the reconfiguration doesn't pass to include school discovery restroom renovations?
I'm not sure if I've asked me the question a different way. I apologize.
Let's say that this reconfiguration doesn't pass and school discovery stayed open. What plans do you have for renovations for restrooms?
Currently, I don't have any plans. To be quite honest with you, in the bond referendum, I think you'll notice I have about $50,000 set aside for School of Discovery, and that was to be used for camera upgrades and possibly fire panel installation if needed. Now, if by chance, when we get to the vote, based on my recommendation tonight, if it does not pass, I'll move at the direction of the board and come back to you with the plan as quickly as possible. But in short, I have not put a plan together in the event that something does not pass.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Budget update, Mr. Park.
Attached, please find an updated district budget calendar. To date, the board has participated in a work session on district attendance lines, student demographics by school, district staffing standards, discussion of options for schools and human resources and financial consideration of school options. In addition, 2 public forums to discuss school options were held at Clio Elementary School and Blenheim Elementary Middle School. The budget calendar going forward includes a session on staffing, at least 2 budget workshops with a public hearing and a minimum of 2 readings of the budget. I have attached House Bill 3759 summary that highlights the elements of the bill. The 5 areas of focus are students, teacher recruitment, accountability for schools and district, technical colleges and technical training, and efficiencies. Specific for students include the creation of a Student Bill of Rights, requirements for high schools or career centers to teach one high-skill, high-demand pathway, high schools to offer computer science, and updates to Read to Succeed. The bill provides for a $35,000 minimum teacher salary with other benefits for highly effective teachers, as well as a plan to implement teacher salary bands to replace the current step schedule. In regards to greater accountability, the bill increases requirements for underperforming schools and districts, as well as consolidation of unsatisfactory schools and dissolution of failing districts. In regards to technical colleges, there is a requirement that remediation takes place as early as 9th grade. Another provision allows for business or industry credential for students that do not meet the minimum admission score, and a plan on how adult education may be moved to the technical college system. The discussions of efficiency relate to creation of a 0 to 20 committee with the Lieutenant Governor serving as the chair. I've recapped some of the broad elements of the bill to highlight the direction that the General Assembly is heading with the budget for fiscal year 1920. The major issue with the bill is outside of the $159 million to provide for the $35,000 minimum teacher salary schedule. There is no new funding for school districts in fiscal year 1920. I will update the board when we receive state revenue estimates and the funding details become more transparent. Expectations are that information will be available in time for the April 4th budget workshop. Just to give you some idea, shortly after I prepared this write-up, we did receive a revenue estimate in terms of the Ways and Means. We do expect to, of course, have a House version that'll follow, Senate version, and then, of course, the final. So we're still early in the revenue process in terms of understanding of what it is that we can expect for the upcoming fiscal year 1920. And I have included the updated board calendar, of course, to include those sessions that were not included initially when I initially presented in January. So, if there's any questions?
Yes. This bill is the next alliance on possibly imprisonment for board members who failed to attend mandatory training is always removed. But fine remains.
Yeah. That's pretty aggressive, isn't it?
You're doing right. I'm going to Columbia tomorrow.
Right.
I misread it. I just got this information of the hospital. The idea for them to put something in there.
I thought that was over the top.
I still make that with Columbia.
Yeah.
Of course, this is just the House version. It's
That's
not
right.
the Senate version.
No.
But they probably want to get the idea there.
But the Senate will change it quite a bit, because
Yeah.
I've seen some of the Senate revisions, and it's not going to be what we're looking at.
I'm glad some of it is out there.
And I hope we focus some on not just the teachers, but also support staff, because they play an integral role in what goes on in this community. And we as a board will have to look at some kind of way that we can do something to assist and help with support staff. To me, that's important, as well as teachers. We have to do something.
Don't you find that through the years, the House is more liberal with the money than the Senate is?
I think so.
Yeah, I do too.
And I will say, Mr. Chair, Mr. Parks and I have discussed what it might look like if this did pass as it relates to our current budget. How could we level the playing field for support staff? And we do have those figures that can be made available to you at next Monday's meeting. Okay. What it would approximately cost the district to keep everyone at the same level or rate of increase if it so passes. Because there will be no additional money to the district
at this time.
And we would have to fund that ourselves.
Did I understand you to say that in this form that we're reading here, the adult education would be moved to the technical?
Well, I think what they're saying are some programs will tend to move from adult ed to the technical system.
Some programs.
Some programs.
Some of those certificate type programs, we're getting certificates.
I think
Yes.
your calendar, we originally had a meeting scheduled for the
25th.
But you backed it up to the...
I moved it up to the 18th, thinking that we would want to try to catch up at that point in time. And I don't know if that's an option. That one of the considerations is, I know that we are still working through the staffing information, and of course that will be impacted by your decision tonight. But I do wonder if it would be possible if we could move that budget session to the 18th. That would give us time to be able to really update our staffing information, because that is one thing that we've worked through 4 of the schools. We've started with a high school, but we have not made that determination at Clio, Blenheim, and School of Discovery in terms of staffing. So
You're speaking of the meeting that we...
and the meeting that we were talking about scheduled for the 11th, I don't know whether there would be a possibility if we could move that to the 18th. That would give us more time to work with.
You've got something here for staffing on the 18th.
Well, if we could do that as well as the budget workshop, combine those together.
I think there were some conflicts, that's why we didn't do it on the 18th, am I right?
Is there a conflict on the 18th?
It's already scheduled for the 18th.
I'm not available on the 18th. Let's see here.
I think we need to just go ahead and put that 18th.
You should.
Right.
You can just move it up and start early.
Originally, we had started 11th.
What's that?
I'm good.
And then
Just the
It's on Monday?
Right, I'm good on that.
Monday.
Could we start at,
Start at 4 o'clock.
anybody have a problem with like 4 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock?
On which day?
On the 18th, because we're gonna be there anyway on the 18th, it appears. Well, there's a work session. There's a work session on the 18th,
Yeah,
anyway.
combine the retreat and that together.
So the 25th is not a good day now?
No, we don't.
That's been changed.
18th is not a good day for me, but I'm just one.
Me too. That is the first meeting on the budget. Normally, we don't do anything on the first meeting. I'm just saying that, can the majority be there on the 18th? I guess
I
is what
can
I'm
be
asking.
He'll, as Mr. Park said, he'll have all the figures, for he can have all the, he can make the presentation from all the schools within the district right now.
That is
And
correct.
The 18th, whoever can be here, I think we need to go ahead and be here. And like our chairman was saying, starting early, I could do that, but if we need to, how can we,
Getting 9 people to agree sometimes can be difficult.
yeah.
The 18th is fine.
And let's say, I got that date locked in, it's fine with me.
I understand that we all have to change our schedule around.
I had the 25th locked in.
I think
That's what I got.
Okay with me because I'd already planned for the 25th, but I'm just,
Yeah.
I'll try.
Can we find out why we changed from the 25th to the 18th?
I was just gonna try to move it up a week, if that's okay with you, and that's,
Got one back where
we can move it back to the 25th, that'll be fine.
Thank you very much. That clears up a whole bunch of stuff already. Now we can continue on. We can meet on the 11th like we said, then meet again on the 25th. Thank you very much.
Very good.
That's easy.
Wait a minute. Where are, you're not talking about the schedule in your book, Mr. Park. Are we talking about the schedule here?
Yes.
You have a work session for the 18th. So you want to
We'll move that to the
That
25th.
initially was the 25th. It was initially scheduled for the 25th.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
why is it written 18 in here then?
I was proposing that change just to be able to give you information sooner,
First calendar
but
was a draft.
that's
First calendar
true.
wasn't set in stone, and so tonight, bringing this back to you, looking at our calendar, that would work for what we have envisioned for the budget. The 18th works better, but if you like the 25th, even though it was in draft form, then the 25th it is.
Fine.
Okay, so it's the 25th.
Very good.
Still doing the 11th.
And we're doing the 11th.
Yep.
Done.
So on the 11th, what you will have,
We're going to walk through a lot of the mechanics of the budget. We're going to give you
Not on the
information.
11th. On the 11th, Mr. Lodehold is going to present.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
We'll have someone else doing that on the 11th.
Terrific.
Maybe 25th. Is that good?
Yeah, it's still on the 25th. Let's go back.
Great.
There's a workshop on the 25th of March.
6 o'clock.
At 6 o'clock. There is a
Work session.
on
the 11th.
On the 11th that starts at 5 o'clock.
Very good.
11
Terrific.
and 25.
Terrific.
All right. We good? We good.
Great.
25th?
yes,
Probably on Monday.
okay, that's good.
Yes.
It's on
Monday,
Monday.
okay, that's
It's
good, all
on
right,
Monday.
I can do it.
Okay.
Okay, financial report as of February 21st, 2019. I've got the budget report attached by object for general fund operations with expenditures to date. At February 21st, the district's cash and investment balances on hand for the 4 primary operating accounts were $8,727,912. At that same date, the district district had expended $18,270,813 of a $32,818,572 budget, or 55.67% of budget year to date. Any questions?
March, April, May, June, 4 months left.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Business actions, board actions, revision of policy JLF, student welfare, second reading. Ms. Robinson.
Good evening, Chairman McNeil, fellow board members, Dr. McCord. Before you, you have second reading of board policy JLF, student welfare. The revisions to the policy are that the proposed revisions will require any and all employees to report any suspected cases of child abuse or neglect. At the last meeting, there was discussion about moving the definition that was added to the policy to the end so that the reporting procedures were clear. So that change has been made. So we're requesting that you approve second reading of revisions to board policy JLF to require any and all Marlboro County School District employees to report any suspected cases of child abuse or neglect.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Driggers.
I have a concern with that. I'm sorry, but I thought at the last meeting we also said something to the effect of, instead of saying the employee shall report, make the report to the law enforcement agency, we were hoping to have it reported maybe to a principal or another person in lieu of one person making that call, having two people make that call. Did we not say that, or did I miss that, or did I dream that?
Well, I can tell you it is reported to the principal, but that does not exclude a person's responsibility
I don't
from making the
have a
call.
problem with that, but I don't want just anyone that's employed making that call. I want at least that employee to bring it to the principal's attention, the principal saying, okay, let's investigate this together, making sure that we're all on the right track, because I would not want an individual, a coach, a custodian, a teacher, whoever, doing that and then it not being what he or she thought it was. Let's have someone back him up, confirm that it is something that needs to be reported, and then move forward to a report.
By law, we're already required to do what you're saying that we not do. So if it is a person employed with the school district, with the exception right now of a custodial member, we have a responsibility to make that report. So that even if you, which we do have in this, this was already in policy, that it is reported to the principal or an administrator in charge, that person still has a responsibility. They still have a legal obligation to report the matter. So there is no getting around that. The only thing that we sought to do with this is add all employees. We have not changed or circumvented the law in any way, shape, or form. It's just adding the addition of all employees, which would include custodial staff, bus drivers, etc.
Where does it say in here that they have to confirm it with someone else? Because the way I'm reading it, it says the employee shall make the report to the law enforcement agency in the county.
That's the law.
Okay, I understand that. I have no problem with that person being part of it if that's where it comes from. But I just really think that to cover everything, that we might need more than one employee just to pick up the phone and call. If he has reinforcement and works with another person within the school. So does it say that somewhere?
Under the current policy, this was not a change. Under the last bullet, where it says any other that might, under reporting procedures, there was already a statement in it that read, the person making the report should tell the principal of the school of any oral or written report submitted in a case of child abuse or neglect. That line was not changed.
And so I think that what we're looking at is that we want, and I understand it is the law that everybody has to report it.
Correct.
You know, that's just the law. And what was changed was it went from all people reporting to they had a certain group of people that was reporting, like teachers, principals and stuff like that.
Right, again, the only thing that we sought to do was include all. Currently, as it stands, everyone with the exception of the custodial staff and/or bus drivers are required by law to report. I can tell you about a situation, but that doesn't mean I still don't have a legal obligation to report it as the first responder. I can't give that to you to report.
This is our first reading on this? Second.
I understand what you're saying. I'm not trying to be the devil's advocate here, but I understand exactly what you're saying. But if I just decide that Mackie Norton is doing something wrong and I report him, I just think that it might be better for the school district for me to report it to Janice Bright, and I look at it together, we agree that Mackie Norton is doing something wrong before we actually report it. What I'm reading here is I can just report Mackie for doing something wrong, and to the officials, the people outside, and they can take it and run with it. Am I right on the way I'm saying that, or what I'm reading?
That's the law.
I understand that's the law. I know what you're saying.
That's about the best way I can explain it. I understand your concern.
I'm scared we're going to cause people not to report it because they don't want to do it.
Leaving the policy.
Say that again?
It was.
I'm afraid we're going to encourage people not to come forward and report something that may be in the gray area that needs to be reported, because they may say, well, if I report that, then this parent is going to prove me wrong, and then I'm going to get in trouble or something. And I'm scared if we have two people confirming it,
right,
it would be much better. But that's my concern.
But I think
only one person.
But I think the way it works, if the person that sees it goes to the principal first, then also along with going to the principal, he has a legal right to. He has a legal obligation to go to.
They can go to the principal, whether they go first, second, or fourth. That still does not change what their legal responsibility is. And again, hopefully, and I want to say this emphatically, we never are faced with a situation where someone is toying between whether or not to report or what it might mean to them as a consequence if it involves a child. I say that because kids don't have an opportunity to have someone speak out for them other than that person who sees something first. And I can give you countless examples of situations that happen every day in school where if someone took the position that I don't want to possibly be found out by the parent, then we could subject that child to further abuse.
And there's always the possibility that you can do it confidentially. You don't have to, you can report confidentially, and no one knows who did it.
It's always confidential. When you report to DSS, it's under the auspice of confidentiality. However, I can't say the same thing for law enforcement, because a police report can be filed, however, names can be redacted. Parents do not necessarily have to know who made the report. My main concern and biggest and only concern is that if and when we see a situation that a child is in the process of being abused, be it physically, mentally, sexually, emotionally, etc., that it is reported and that someone of a different authority makes a determination or decision as to whether or not to move forward with it.
I had not read I didn't have the actual policy, but after reading it and reading the state law, it's something that I think that I certainly would like to see this district go ahead and adopt. Now, we just listened to this man from Raids, and when he gave his presentation, if we went with that, he said the first person that gets see the trouble for him to report it. And that is, and now we're kind of saying that, okay, if the bus driver sees something, and he spends a lot of time one-on-one with students, or the janitor sees something, or I can go along with them going through the principal, but I sit home every day and I read a lot of horror stories about what happens to children in schools, and I would say I would make a motion to adopt this policy and let us go on with it, because it's the law.
That's it.
And if anyone gets, I make a motion that we adopt policy.
Oh, we still got questions.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Is there anyone else?
I had my hand.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Mr. Smith.
Who is responsible for the documentation of such reports?
Well, it's twofold. Anytime we have a reporting situation from a school, principals are required to complete an incident report and submit it to the district office, to myself and to our PIO, Ms. Anderson, and then we keep that documentation for our files so that we know that a report was issued, who the responding individual was from the Department of Social Services or law enforcement, and then if something does come back, we are covered because we have an incident report. However, the reporting procedure that takes place on the other side, we have no control over that. But I ask for incident reports as well as police documentation, if it's available, as well as who did we speak to about the matter.
Well, you've got, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You've got two different problems, and we can't solve it, probably either one of them. But one is that some people are going to overreact.
Correct.
And report things that are unnecessary. The second one is people rather throw it on the monkey on your back and let you and say it's in your lap now. So they'd rather come to the principal or to the guidance counselor, hand it to them, and then walk away. So you've got a kind of a problem either way. My suggestion is to follow the law. And the second thing is maybe we should put, since the way it's written, the principal is the recipient of the report. It's already been filed when he or she gets it. But maybe it should say, instead of should, shall. You know, just to...
It doesn't say that.
It says should, it doesn't say shall.
Oh, you're right.
I just thinking, just for lack of a term that's more, you will do it, you might want to put shall. But I agree, if it's the law, you can do it and then deal with which side of the coin you want to deal with, whether they're going to report it too much or whether they're not going to report it enough. It's just, that's human nature.
Well, I feel like it was the law before it was changed.
Yeah.
It still was the law.
It was.
The only thing being changed in it is all certain employees.
Yeah, it is.
So, no, I'm sorry.
I apologize, ma'am. I'm sorry. I thought you were finished.
No. So, I feel like this puts some parents in awkward situations.
Yes.
As I said at the last meeting, you know, I don't like the wording. You know, I don't like the fact that anybody, I know that everybody should report. I don't like the fact that anybody can report. I think that's why we have, like some of the councils, like I said, and the parent coordinators, because they more know what's going on with some of these children than somebody that hadn't seen that child in a month that decides that their definition of neglect is the dingy size, you know. So, but I'm not gonna fight the board on what they choose to do, you know. I'll go along with everybody else wants, but I want to know that I don't like this policy.
I understand
I don't
your
like the
concern. I don't
changes.
think I like it either. I don't think I like it either.
Anyone else? Okay. Are we ready to vote? I need a motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we adopt the second reading for policy JLF.
Second.
It's already been moved in second, but we're in the voting mode now because I think we've already gone through. All in favor of the policy as it's read, please raise your right hand. Hold them up for a minute to make sure that Ms. Cribb can see. All right, all opposed? Okay, it's been adopted.
The next item is mine, but I believe Dr. McCord is, would you like to do it?
Go ahead. This is the certified recommendation list based on the employees or the staffing that we have for next year, 2019, 2020. It also includes those staff members that are going to be resigning and or retiring based on information received by the principals at each school. I think we have a total of 274.
Yes, sir. We are, on the recommendations of the building principals and supervisors, we are recommending that you approve a total of 274 certified contracts for next school term.
And these are teaching contracts, so nothing has been done with this information. I think each year you've received this in this manner. The board just simply gives us the authority to compose or draft the contracts, and then we'll bring it back to you. And this is for teaching positions.
Contracts that y'all offer.
Correct.
Well, we were always given a list of the employees, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they were in previous years we were given
we can PDF.
Email, that is in here.
Because and for each school, that's what was given to us, and each employee listed that way.
Yes.
We have it broken down by school, position, but we would PDF that to you. Of course, that's a confidential file, but I don't have an issue sending that to you if that's something.
Well, I think
I didn't know that's how you received it in the past, but we'll get it to you.
In the past, we did receive a paper copy of each school with each staff person that was on this book.
Gotcha. I'll PDF it to you. It just seemed like a lot of paper.
And we anticipate 35 vacancies with that list, but it may be less than that. That's just an
I'm fine with that. I just was thought this was different, but that's fine.
Okay.
35 vacancies, that's fine. That's a long bid.
Potential.
Potential.
Are those people that's not coming back, or are those people that's leaving and don't want to come?
It's a mixture of retirees, people who have resigned, some of our international teachers who their contracts have run out. So it's a mixture. But that will all be on the PDF file you receive.
That's a lot lower than what we've had in the past. Probably that's almost half of what we've had in the past. The number of people that's leaving, I know it's early in the year, but okay.
Well, it doesn't necessarily mean that everyone who signed a letter of intent to return is going to return. You know, some people like to wait until the end, and I can tell you because several school districts are going to be offering step increases or stipends, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, on top of whatever the state does. Of course, it's going to make it dicey again for school districts such as ours and small districts.
And we're going to be doing that too?
I would love to.
We didn't say with some of the cuts that we
you didn't hear me say $5,000, $6,000, or $7,000. I said I'd like to start with about $1,500 for staff members, and we're working tirelessly towards accomplishing that goal. Let me say this: those school districts that are offering those amounts, they have far greater reserve funds than we do, far greater tax basis than we do. Whether it's Florence, whether it's Charleston, whether it's Beaufort County, we just can't compete with the tax base that these districts have. So we have to make the most with what we have. And I'm trying my best to get it to them.
Thank you.
Recommendations for school configuration.
Board Chair McNeil, to members of the school board, to the public that is present tonight, and all those that are interested in what the recommendation might be from my office as it relates to the school reconfiguration process. We embarked about several months ago, and I'll say several months ago, if you go back to my original proclamation to you when we discussed the potential of asking the public for the question to seek $10 million for a bond referendum. I said at that time that there would be some serious discussions that would need to be held as it relates to the current structure or configurations of our schools because of various reasons. I also discussed it at the October meeting and said again that there would be some recommendations coming from me as to what I foresee as what's best for the district as it relates to safety, as it relates to educational opportunities, but most importantly as it relates to facilities. I can tell you in my time in education, and I don't consider myself to be the most
expert of experts, but I do consider myself to be an educational expert. And I know my job and responsibility as superintendent is to control the things that I can control. Those things that I can control would be conditions for which we operate our educational opportunities for students and for staff. That being said, we've held forums to discuss what we might look like as a district if we were to do things differently. And these differences that we discussed included, with the approval of all principals and staff, we recommended that BPS move forward next year with a configuration that would include pre-K through third grade. I think the teachers and staff, as well as the administration at BPS, are excited about the possibility of taking what they have developed over a course of several years and putting it out to show and showcase that, hey, these third graders are definitely going to be prepared when they move forward to the next grade level. You heard a presentation earlier tonight from Dr. Harris to kind of give a prelude to what we are looking forward to from a school like BPS. I also would like to mention that one of the things that I heard moving into the district, as well as what I researched, is that there was some angst with the community with the students at BIS, fifth grade students, being transported on a daily to Clio Elementary Middle. That decision was made to suffice a couple of things, and I may be inaccurate because I was not here, but my understanding is because it had something to do potentially with the molding issues, which we have addressed with the referendum, as well as the fact that the Clio school had the potential to hold more students than it currently had in its attendance area. That being said, we desperately wanted to find and seek a way that we can keep students that are being bused for over an hour or more each day, families that are being displaced when having to attend school functions and events, to check on students at school by leaving a neighborhood and having to travel upwards to 17 to 18 miles to get to Clio. How could we suffice in meeting the needs of students and community with these fifth grade students? And so we found a way to have these students continue their education at BIS. So in essence, if approved, students currently enrolled at BPS will continue next year, which can only help further relationships, enhance the educational experiences that they have at the school, as well as BIS. Students currently at BIS would remain at BIS as rising fourth and fifth graders. What would that do to the school? What would that do to the Clio school? The Clio school has approximately 126 students in grades pre-K through 5. The approximate total or capacity of the school exceeds what the available students registered for that attendance zone might be. And so I'll shift now, if I can, to School of Discovery. I've said on many of occasions, I like, admire, respect, and have great admiration for what has taken place with School of Discovery as it relates to the students, output, outcomes, both educationally and artistically. How could we maximize what we have at School of Discovery, as well as meet those needs that we have at other schools when it relates to capacity? At the Clio school, for an example, we could theoretically and possibly have students attend school at Clio in grades pre-K through 8, and this is option A, and this was discussed both to you at a work session as well as in public forums where we would offer a magnet program for students in grades 6 through 8, earlier exposure to the arts and band, extracurricular activities, STEM and or STEAM, certified teaching and instruction for students and staff, mentoring programs, technology, and we listed other things that would go along with that as an option A. We also have, with an option B, notwithstanding BPS and BIS staying the same, students attending Blenheim, and I apologize if I get stuck remembering names, students attending Blenheim from School of Discovery. In grades 6 through 8, students attending Clio from the Blenheim zone in grades pre-K through 5th grade so that we could have a true elementary program, pre-K through 5 at Clio, and a true middle school program that would allow the middle school model to take place at Blenheim. And I can list some of the advantages that were discussed again in public as it relates to having option B as a viable option. One, how could we benefit and satisfy those students from an artistic standpoint? We have a beautiful brand new facility at Blenheim to include a state-of-the-art auditorium where students could perform as well as learn and grow from other areas that are not yet possible at the current School of Discovery. We talked about the interdisciplinary planning and collaboration that would take place with teachers from an instructional standpoint related to the true middle school concept. We talked about stronger PLCs in honors and college prep track to address those that seem to believe that we want to do away with an academic program. We want to strengthen an academic program for grades 6 through 8 if possible at the Blenheim School, which would allow, again, for those students that are not currently attending School of Discovery for the arts program to have a chance to also explore what options might be available to them, because they would be exposed to the arts at a greater stage. All of that said, from a financial standpoint, I think it was discussed that if we were to make a move to Clio, the savings to the district would be somewhere in the neighborhood or in excess of over $300,000. If we were to go with the option B, which would be Blenheim, the savings would be to the district in excess, and again, these are operational costs, in excess of $500,000. And Mr. Parker, am I correct on those?
About $465,000.
465
for the Blenheim.
Blenheim option B. So again, from a financial standpoint, it benefits the district, but I'm not doing this for financial reasons solely. I'm doing this because I think in the best interest of students, all students, this is what's best. We have newer facilities that can accommodate students and provide for them an opportunity to see our best. We're asking students to give us their best, but we're providing the bare minimum. I don't plan to ever at any time ask you as a board to support me in any effort that would not allow me a chance to provide students with the very best. What confirmed my recommendation, which I'll make here in a moment, that the option that I'm going to recommend to you is it was confirmed last week when I attended a program at School of Discovery. The students did an excellent job. They performed well on a small stage where not everyone could fit on the stage, in a poorly lit auditorium that does not allow them to showcase their true talent in the way that it's designed. For those that were in attendance, it was a crammed space in an area that's not conducive to what I consider to be appropriate for those type programs. And so that being said, I'm going to recommend to the board that you allow me to offer a reconfiguration of schools with option B, having students from School of Discovery merge with students at Blenheim in grades 6 through 8 to include students from Bennettsville in grades 6 through 8. Students from Clio in the attendance zone for Clio in grades pre-K through 5 would attend Clio, as well as students from Blenheim in grades pre-K through 5 attending Clio to make for a full school at Clio, which also is a newer facility with better conditions. That's my recommendation, option B. I know I said a lot to say option B, but that is my recommendation.
You heard the recommendation by the superintendent. What's your pleasure?
I make a motion that we accept the recommendation of option B.
I second that.
It's been moved and second that we accept option B. Are we ready for question?
Discussion?
Yes, discussion.
Just come back to me.
Ms. Manville?
I'm going to reserve on that one.
Mr. Smith? Mr. Norton?
Yes, I can't not say what's on my mind. My preference is to leave it where it is, However,
We can't have that, and we won't.
I know that's not really going to happen. So I looked at option A, I looked at option B. They both have pros and cons. Like I said, I'm not sure that a facility is kind of like, well, I don't judge a fisherman by the quality of the boat he's in. And I'm not sure I can judge a school and its program by the facility that it's in. Option A has some pros that I like. It's small. Miss Kane could run a school of that size with her eyes closed. It would bring the children from Clio back to Clio. It would leave the kids in Blenheim. We would be back, with the exception of 6 through 8 Bennett's for students, we would be back to neighborhood schools, which is something that I've heard this board say we needed, or would be good, to have our children in their neighborhoods. I think that the School of Discovery children would maintain a better identity at Clio. Having said that, I'm not oblivious to the fact that at Blenheim there is a nice auditorium, and it would make certified teachers a lot easier to find and deal with, because you wouldn't need but middle school at one certified, and you just have to have elementary and all at the other. But it's not my job to make adult jobs easier. It's my job to make sure that children are looked after. Having said that, you will see my vote.
Ms. Fleming?
Thank you. I had an opportunity to be on a program about 2 weeks ago down in the Blenheim area, and I've gotten correspondence from different people about the bullying and how the School of Discovery children would not be accepted and all that stuff. But at this program, the School of Discovery, they perform beautifully, the singing and the dancing, and they left. The thing is, a lot of the children stayed because they were performing for their churches, and I didn't see any problem when they were singing with the School of Discovery. I also didn't see any problem when they were singing with the churches. One of the young men, I went to another program. They have a church, have a big fundraiser down at the Berea Center. And he's one of the top students at School of Discovery. But his choir sang, his church choir sang, and he led a rap song, and he had the whole place rocking. It was a gospel rap. I don't see where the children would have a problem, because it is a small community here. Everyone knows just about everyone knows everyone. And if these children can go to the School of Discovery and dance together and perform together, and then go to Sunday to their churches and sing together, I don't see where there would be a bullying problem, no more than normal. Certainly, if someone offered me a brand new house with all the bells and whistles, I would take it. Same thing with all the apparel. As I've said so many times on this board, the rest areas on the interstate are better than our bathrooms, and I don't like that. You go down to any interstate and you stop at the rest area, it's clean, there's no missing towel, and everything works. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't stay unworking long. We can do better, and I want us to do better here for children.
Rodriguez. I guess I have questions as much as I have comments, so I'm gonna get my questions first. If we go with option B, is that going to make the availability of teachers a better scenario? Will we be able to concentrate on our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders by having more certified teachers, better classes there?
I want to address the first one. I believe so. To answer the question succinctly, having teachers identified with a true middle school concept, having common planning, common lessons, common assessments, definitely gives us an opportunity to provide more quality instruction for our students.
Okay. I've heard Ms. Kane make the comment as far as her school. If you go with the option B and bring the kindergarten through 5th grade to Clio, as she has now, she has 1 first grade teacher, she said. She would have 2 where she could interact, so it would increase hers also. Am I correct?
Right. Anytime I think we have an opportunity to have teachers collaborate with one another, share ideas, that's definitely going to make us stronger. And then, if you don't mind, I'll call Ms. Kane and Ms. Taylor, as well as Mr. McCall, up to the front, because I think as the experts, the reigning experts in the building, they can speak clearly and I think articulate what their vision might be if we were to move forward with option B. And not to put them on the spot, but they're excited about the opportunity to share.
We are. And I did talk about the fact that my teachers could work together better. I could loop students. So say students that really working well with the teacher, that teacher could move on to another grade level. And you know, sometimes the teacher just doesn't work well with the student. I wouldn't have to leave them in that position all year. I could try to work them with another teacher so they could build a better relationship. So I would really, option B works really well for getting the teachers to work and build relationships with our students.
I can hear you fine over there, like, that's good.
Just in case they can't in the back.
Yeah.
So,
She's excited.
This kind of program would allow a lot of professional development for teachers. We could build such a relationship with those students starting in pre-K so that when they go to Blenheim, they have already built that relationship together and we can help them prepare them for middle school even better in that situation with the pre-K through 5th graders. Jane?
In terms of for Blenheim Element, in terms of Blenheim, it would allow us the same opportunities it would Ms. Kane. It allows us to enable teachers to be able to meet and plan together and do common assessments and then to go back and disaggregate the data and see where we need to meet our kids. It's also going to give, it's also going to give us the ability to give our kids extracurricular activities that we may not have been able to provide them at this time. So in terms of sports, but not only sports, in terms of the arts. So it's going to allow us to build up both of those programs and continue to grow our kids and prepare them to walk into Marlboro County High School with an idea of the career path that they may want to pursue and to have an idea of how they want to build their schedule.
And I can speak, but currently at School of Discovery, my teachers, they teach 2 different grade levels, and so it's 2 different grade level preps. At the true middle school level, they would have 1 grade level prep, and so they could really hone in their skills on that one particular subject area that they're working with.
So what I'm hearing is we have a chance to make our curriculum advanced a little better than what we're offering now by moving and combining these schools.
Can I speak to that? In a true middle school model, you're trying to expose them to as much as you can. What you can do in a true middle school model, now you can try to offer things like, as time goes on, French, Spanish, that other districts are offering to kids. So they walk in Marlboro County High School, they already have that experience. So you're just building upon it.
Okay. I know that we got to, and I'm saying this, and I don't mean any disrespect to School Discovery building, but I know that the Blenheim School building gives us a safer atmosphere because of the doors and things of this nature. Now, as far as the students that apply for School Discovery, they have an audition process. They go in, they apply, they do their audition for chorus, band, whatever they're auditioning for, dance. That's still going to stay in place. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. That still will stay in place. So we'll have auditions that's coming up Saturday.
They're still going to stay in place. Mr. McCall, you've said that the end on the right, where the kindergarten is ideal for dance, this type of stuff,
Yes,
or those rooms, correct?
Yes, sir. Those are larger rooms, so those rooms, you won't have to do many modifications. If I'm not mistaken, the only thing you'd have to do is put in mirrors and a bar.
All right, now, all that sounds wonderful. My biggest concern with moving children and moving to Blenheim, and I'm just gonna be perfectly honest about it, so I guess not Ms. King, but one of you two may be the principal. So it's going to be, my concern is the kids interacting, whether or not, and I hear bullying, but I know that bullying goes on to every school. There's nobody at this round table, square table can stop bullying. It happens. But we've got to control that. We've got to have somebody strong placement there. If we're going to be reconfiguring and putting people in school, these kids in school together, there's got to be some way to cut down or control that type of stuff. Now, what are the ideas for if, I'm saying if, what are the ideas if there's bullying going on now that we've got school discovery there at 6th, 7th, and 8th grade with the other 6th, 7th, and 8th graders?
Let me, if I can, that'll be a responsibility for me as superintendent to make sure that we have a team in place, an administrative team in place that can address issues as it relates not just to bullying, but to discipline overall. One of the things that I think we don't do that we're looking forward to doing more of as we continue in our efforts to better educate our public and our community is we need to share data. We need to share data and show where our students are making improvements as it relates to incidents, not just reported, but incidents that are having to be dealt with. I can't battle what has been done or said before me. However, I don't think numbers will lie. We can show factual numbers that address what takes place at schools, how frequent it takes place, all the way down to the day, the time, and the individuals that are creating these disturbances in school. And by the way, any school, not just here in Marlboro County, but any school USA, that number is going to be somewhere between 3 and 5%. So having a strong administrative team present on hand to help us address those issues, as well as some of the things that I mentioned earlier, wraparound services to include mental health counselors, social workers, proper mentorship programs where we do our level best to address all that are associated with students in school. I think we're going to, and this is just my thought, if I can, I think we're going to overcome some of the negative perceptions that have permeated the community and have had a stranglehold for quite some time.
Anytime there's change, there's always concern, whether it's from the folks out here in the audience or whether it's from us or whatever. And like I said, we've got to, if we go with option B, which is options you have recommended, we've got to put in place a good, strong team, as you just said.
That's my, yes, sir, that's my responsibility.
Lead us through this, and we've got to make strides in education, because I know what everybody's saying, and I've said this before, and I'm gonna say it again. I think football, baseball, dance, band is extracurricular activities. That's a reward for doing your English and math and all that and passing it. I don't know if everybody treats it that way, but that's my viewpoint. Okay, so I want to have a good strong arts program. I want to have it a good strong, and I want Discovery School to miss a beat. But I want also to make sure that if we do reconfigure, that there is going to be a strong academic program hand in hand with it. And that's what I'm talking about right now. We've got to have strong teachers. We've got to have strong curriculum. And if we're going to be able to do that, what I'm hearing from you, you think, I'm going to rephrase it.
No,
I think we're going to be able to do that.
No, what I said is that's my responsibility. I ask you to hold me accountable for ensuring that it does happen. So I don't want to put it. I don't want to put it on the principals. I'll put that solely on my shoulders. And so if it's not what we say it's going to be, and by the way, this is over a period of time. Yes. It's not going to happen overnight. Then that's where you, me, and the other members of the board will have to have a conversation in the back room.
Okay, I agree with that. There's no problem on that. I love having conversations. But just like I said, I just want to make sure that we're moving in the right direction with it all at one time. I don't want to focus on the arts or focus on the academic, but it's always got to move together. And that's where I want to go in. Okay?
Same here. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Right.
Option A, I was leaning more toward Clio. B seems like a perfect option too. I don't have a problem with option B. They don't seem to have a problem with it. If they don't have a problem with it, I don't have a problem with it. I'm really happy that the 5th graders will be going back to BIS. I'm really excited about that, and I'm glad that 3rd graders will stay at BPS. I think they'll be more satisfied over there since they start out there. It kind of prepares them better because they like to baby them over there at the primary school, and then when they get over there,
They do a great job.
yeah, when they get over there with the big people, then they want to, you know, so I like to move. I'm sorry that we have to move the School of Discovery, you know, and I know it's a lot of emotions about that, and I respect that, you know, but still we need to kind of move forward.
Mr. Brandt?
Well, there's a lot about this recommendation that I like. I like the 3rd graders staying at BPS. I like bringing the students back from Clio. But I guess my big issue is School of Discovery. You know, about 20 years ago, I guess it was around 2000, our school district had a vision for an arts magnets program. And after a lot of hard work, they made it happen. And if my calculations are right, they opened the school in about 2002, because that's my son was in 1st class in 7th grade there. You know, during these years, these kids have won so many awards, not only academically, but in performance. And I'd like to say to the kids at the School of Discovery, you know, what glitters is gold, because you've done a super job over all these years. I realize that there's deterioration at that school, but a lot of that will be fixed with, we put a new roof on. A lot of the issues that were caused by that roof. I think my understanding is they're putting new tile down now in certain areas of the school. So a lot of this stuff could be remedied. If this school closes, it's on the back of this school board, and I'd like to ask this school board not to destroy that vision that began about 20 years ago. With that being said, I'd like to make a motion to amend the original motion to postpone closure of School of Discovery for 1 calendar year. Let's look at it in 1 year, and during that time, we look at grants and outside funds that can help us with that school.
Okay, there's an amendment on the floor. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
I don't get in on the discussion on it.
I'm sorry.
I didn't get in on the discussion.
All right, then we'll do discussion, then we'll come back to your motion.
You know, School of Discovery is a great school. Matter of fact, I have a granddaughter that goes there, and she loves going to the School of Discovery. But one thing she told me that she loves all the other new schools and the beautiful atmospheres and other schools that she see in the county. I want for what's best for all the children, and I know the School of Discovery got some sentimental value. But when I came on this board, people in Wallace, you know, I asked them, what do we need in Wallace? First thing they said, they wanted a new school because of the conditions that we were in. And after visiting the School of Discovery, and I saw the conditions that School of Discovery has been in over the 10 years that I've been on the board, and it has worsened. And I want the best for all of our children here in this county. You know, if we could, I wish we had the money, we could just fix the School of Discovery up and renovate it and do it. But we just don't have it. But we have good facilities here now that we can put our children in. And as a grandfather, as a concerned citizen, and as a board member, I want all our children to have the best that they can get out of this county. And I think we have the facilities here now to provide that. I think that the recommendation is a fair one. And I just want the School of Discovery to be recognized for who they are here in the future. And then we talk about bullying. My granddaughter goes to the School of Discovery. She's experienced bullying there. So bullying is everywhere, not just in our local school here in Bennettsville and Wallace and McCall. It's everywhere. And I think what's happening is a lot of fear here because we're going into doing something we've never done before. But what we got to remember, these are all our children. And we as a community and as a county, we got to stand up for all of our children and make them feel comfortable in this new environment, in this new atmosphere, and if we choose to move forward with this. So that's what I thing I want to put out there, that I really appreciate the recommendation. I appreciate everybody that's on both sides of the aisle, but we have to make a decision.
Anyone else?
I have not had my option. I taught at 4 different schools in this county, and School of Discovery was the last one that I taught at. It was the happiest school. And I really think that the best choice is, as Mr. Branch said, let's postpone it for a year.
Mr. Branch?
I put the motion out there. I need a second.
I've got one more thing I'd like to say. I know I may not be the most popular guy as we leave out here tonight, but I just do not think School Discovery is the building. I think it's the students, I think it's the teachers, I think it's the people that are enrolled in the School Discovery, and I think we could put them in a metal can, and they would still perform if we had the people to lead them and carry them forward. Now, I may be wrong, like I said, I may get something thrown at me, whatever, but I just think the School Discovery is not the building, it's the students, it's the teacher, it's the people that's concerned about School Discovery, leading the School Discovery forward. I'm through again.
Thank you.
Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
I understand everybody's concern, and I appreciate every member of this board, because I think everybody on this board is going to vote their true feelings. I really do. I don't think anybody's got any personal vendetta, any personal gain, anything except what they want's best for the children as they see fit. As Danny says, and others, the School of Discovery is unique, and they may learn in spite of us rather than because of us. But I pray to God that it's going to be because of us. I pray to God it's going to be the right decision that's made tonight. And whatever it is, let's do it and let's live with it.
At one time, probably 50 years ago, maybe I got the history on it. They had 37 schools in Marlboro County. 37. I got a book with all the pictures in it. And closing those schools were not an easy decision, but we are still here, we're still thriving, we're still moving forward. From 37 to how many we got now? 7. We're still educating our children. They're still going off and being successful. Sentimental, and sometimes we just have to let some things go and do for the future. 37 schools, and now look what we're down to. But that's progress.
I have not said anything, but I will now. We've talked about a group of kids over here, a larger group of kids over here, and we're doing all the talking, and the kids really aren't saying a whole bunch except what they hear their parents and other grown folks say. Kids are gonna fight. I checked that out. Grown folk fight. That won't stop. What's important is what Mr. Branch said. Somebody had a vision, and as a result of that vision, numerous awards were given and made by the School of Discovery. I'm trying to figure out why we're sitting here talking, what's going to stop that from happening now? What stops those kids from still going out performing at their best? I don't see anybody saying that they're going to stop singing. Nobody says they're going to stop dancing. We just moved them to another place. Those are the same kids that 5, 6, and 7, and 8 years ago were at our regular public schools, and they're still performing now in other places. So none of that's going to stop. The only thing that's going to stop is what I saw when I walked in those schools. One of them I walked out of in 1971. I walked back in it, and guess what? It still looks the same. That's scary. I walked in schools, 2 or 3 that's been rebuilt, walked in Clio, loved it. Walked in Blenheim, I was in awe. And I'm still walking in them. Let's give our kids an opportunity to be proud of where they are. Not proud of what they do. They're proud of what they do. Let's give them that reward that they deserve. Are they going to be bullied? I hope not. If they weren't bullied when they was in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, chances are they won't get bullied now. But if we encourage it, if we tell them they're going to do it, it's probably going to happen to some of them. And some of them it's not going to happen to, but they're going to see it happen to them. I hate to say that, but that's the truth. And I'm based on what I know from experience from what I did all my life. Sometimes we can talk ourselves into where we want to be. We can talk ourselves into what we want to do. So why not let's say that all of our kids are going to get the best education that we can give them. Put our adult feelings aside, and let's let the kids do what they do best. You have very few fights in kindergarten and 1st and 2nd grade, very few. It's amazing how as they get old, things change. I wonder why. So, maybe if we put more emphasis on that, more emphasis on something, Mackie, that you said, that you and pray. I pray every day that things get better. But it won't until we start treating our neighbors and loving our neighbors as ourselves. And that's what we don't do sometimes. We don't love each other. And until we start loving each other and treating each other like human beings and like brothers and sisters, I hate to be the one to tell you all this, we ain't never going nowhere. And that's the truth. Mr. Smith.
I too reserved my comment, and I wasn't going to say anything. But as I sat and I listened to the discussion around the table, and I'm reminded of some things that I said when I was running for this position, is that I would always do what my heart tells me that is right. Our children need the best of everything, whether it's in Blenheim, Clio, Bennettsville, McCall, or Wallace. All students deserve the same privileges. I've had a son to go through the School of Discovery and a granddaughter, but they both were in other schools prior to going there, and they functioned well. I visited every school in Marlboro County. The School of Discovery, as has already been said, it's not a building, it's about those children. What keeps a child from performing on the same level that they were at the School of Discovery in another building? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. They have the same opportunities. This world that we live in is a cruel world sometimes, and we have to adapt to what comes up. All of us sitting around this table was elected by our communities to make decisions and be leaders. And there are times when leaders have to make decisions that may not be favorable for everyone, but you have to have the courage to make the decision based on the information, correct information that you have. We got the numbers. We know the condition. Don't let progress be impeded because of a building. These children will have a greater opportunity relocating on option B that our superintendent, who you've hired to lead this district, and I support option B.
Okay. Mr. Branch has a motion on the floor. I need a second. It has been discussed. All in favor of the amendment made by Mr. Branch to the recommendation to amend the motion for option B to postpone it for 1 year. All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. All opposes? There was 3 in favor and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 against. Oppose, I'm sorry, I won't say against. Oppose. Now back to the main motion that's on the floor.
Can I make one more comment?
Yes, sir.
I listened to what Mr. Smith said about, and several others said about a building does not make a school, and I totally agree with you. And I do want the best for all of our kids, and I didn't want to give up this fight for school discovery because I'm passionate about it. Just because I'm passionate about it doesn't mean that I won't support what the board ultimately does. However, I would like to make one more amendment to this motion. Once we move it to Blenheim, I'd like for it to remain a school and let it be a school within a school.
Let me hit on that.
First, it's in the form of a motion.
Okay, you need a second.
Yeah, I need a second.
Can I?
Second it for discussion.
Yeah, second for discussion, that's what I'll do. What exactly, oh, I'm sorry, I'm jumping the gun.
No.
Can I go ahead and ask?
Did you second it?
No, Mackie seconded.
You seconded it. Okay, then.
All right. What exactly is the definition of a school within a school? What do you mean?
We basically pick the staff up and the students up, and we move them into another location and let them remain intact.
And I'm just asking, okay? I'm not trying to be difficult, but if I've got something better with the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade over here, I'm not going to let the school discovery kids be part of it, or vice versa. I mean, I'm just asking.
Evidently, what they've been doing is wonderful. They've got great scores. They've been thriving academically. I mean,
I think.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. They have been thriving, as you say. So I don't want to deprive those other children from the opportunity of getting better also. You follow what I'm saying? Let's just say, I know what you're saying, but the school discovery is heads above everybody over here. Why can't I bring those kids over and let them get a little taste of it too, and maybe they'll improve? I don't know if I like the idea of a school within a school and not giving the other children an opportunity. And that's just, we're discussing it, and I just want to bring it forward. Okay.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I just want to follow up with Mr. Bradshaw talked. Mr. Bradshaw, are you saying that when you want a school within a school, you're saying that they have like 2 principals, principal for the school discovery, principal for Blenheim?
You can ask.
And
just like it is now.
Just basically keep it separate, but they'll be in the same building. That's what
facilities.
That's what you're asking, right?
That's right.
Anyone else? And I know you're asking, but at some point in time, we have to ask. At some point in time, we have to ask the superintendent, is it possible?
Well, is it possible? I would be remiss if I said no, it's not possible. It is possible, but it would be at a tremendous cost, and it would also be at the detriment to what we're trying to do. I will say this, and I've reserved the right to not speak on this matter for various reasons, but when we say things such as we have students that are head and shoulders above the rest, we have students that are performing academically better than students in our traditional schools, that's just not accurate. And so I say this to say that if we were to adopt the idea that some believe that we should as it relates to separating or segregating students, those very students that we would be looking to separate and segregate might not be eligible to participate in the classes that some are believing that they are entitled to. And I say that again with hesitation because my goal is to make sure that we seek out the best educational opportunities for all students. Do I believe option B will help us accomplish that? I do. Do I believe amending it to say that having a school within a school would help us accomplish that? I don't believe that's possible, nor do I believe it to be fiscally responsible.
Yeah. And in saying that, I remember 2 years ago when we was talking about doing reconfiguration, that's the same exact plan that Dr. Tiller had put on the table for us, a school within a school, and school discovery being at Blenheim, and we voted for it and came back and reversed the vote. It was turned down. So,
Let's just call for a question.
yeah.
Not, I have to check out Summers.
I'm just looking at our points of celebration. I think Luke Chavez was from Marlboro School of Discovery. No, MC McCall, okay. Certainly, little Luke is a little fella, but he's obviously very bright and very smart, and we are very proud of him. And the second runner-up, Maria Stuckey, what school is she? BIS. Okay, that's okay. There you go. Character education. I know that young man. He's at the high school. And we got Madison Woodall is a McCall student. So we got excellent students all over this county, including the School of Discovery. But this is the points of celebration, tells the story right there, how great our children are. And they are not all from School of Discovery. There are some from there, but they are all over this county. The proof is right there. Our kids do well. They got excellent teachers in McCall and BIS and everywhere. Blenheim.
All right. Is there anyone else? We do have an amendment on the floor. It has been seconded. All in favor of the amendment, and the amendment being changing Plan B to a school within a school at Blenheim, with the School of Discovery being one of those schools. Am I correct? Am I correct? Okay. All in favor, let me know by raising your hand, your right hand. That's 2. All opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Looks like 7 opposed. Okay. So we're back now to the original motion. And the original motion
Accepting option B.
was accepting option B.
Did we make that motion?
Yeah, it was made because it went into an amendment.
Okay. All right.
So we're there, we've had discussions, we've had 2 different amendments, and we're at the point to vote. Am I correct?
Correct.
All in favor of option B, let it be known by raising your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All opposes? 3. It has been approved.
Congratulations.
You have consent agenda.
We do have a consent agenda. Ecumenical Business Partner Luncheon, March the 20th.
Right, and if I can just announce again to the public that on March 20th, we will have our Ecumenical and Business Partner Luncheon located at the Chamber of Commerce on Marlboro Street, at 120 Marlboro Street. That's going to begin at 11 a.m. We had a great first turnout. Back in September, we're looking for the same and even more as we share with our community and our public some of the advances that we're looking forward to in our future here in Marlboro County.
Okay. That's on the 20th, it's on a Wednesday?
March 20th, yes, sir.
That's a Wednesday.
Correct.
Trying to make sure.
11 to 1. 11 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Chamber of Commerce.
Yes, ma'am. And we send an invitation out. We'll send it out again just to make sure that we touch as many as we can, asking our local newspaper and news media to also let us get that information out to the public.
Okay, the other consent agenda is Act 155, petitions for diplomas.
Act 155, Dr. Harris, if you would, as he walks up here, I can share with you what it is. This is an act, and I think some of you voted on it before, where students previously had to pass all portions of the HSAT, which was a high school equivalency passing exam. That has since been amended for students that have met the
credit requirement to receive a diploma. We have not had one in quite some time, but we have 4 that have requested their diploma. It's just asking that you acknowledge that so that we can give them and they can take receipt of their diplomas.
All right. Second. I said second. Any questions? All in favor, let me know by raising your right hand. All right.
Mr. Chair.
Oh, before you do that, I do want
I just want to ask whether it's through yet.
I want to show off this beautiful picture of board members, and as you see, each of you are included. This is something that will be posted at each of our schools. Also, you too will have one that you can hang on your walls, and at times when you just want someone to talk to, you'll have someone by your side.
My card. Okay. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Second. All in favor, let me know by raising your right hand. We are adjourned.
Yeah, that's y'all. That was just a good-looking group.
Wow. Look at that was y'all. No, that was y'all. My thing is